Welcome back, Truth Seeker. It is Thursday, October 12th, 2023. If you're watching cable news in the United States, I'm sure it's true in several other nations. Netanyahu's office today released images of murdered babies. And of course, prior to these images, cable news has been talking about the murdered babies, the beheaded women and children. If you weren't alive in the days after 9/11, it feels a lot like that right now, where there's just nonstop cable coverage of atrocities committed by Muslims as certain people go on the TV and sound like they're declaring holy war. Again, for a lot of people, the propaganda is not as effective because they're not as caught up in the narratives that the media and mainstream society has been telling us about for all of our lives. I mean, there's been a lot of wars in this history of this world. There's been a lot of genocides in the history of this world. But despite that fact, most Americans really only know about a handful of wars. And when it comes to genocide, it's mostly just the Holocaust that you think of. You don't think about the Native Americans here or, the Bolshevik Revolution or what happened in Turkey. Um, the band System of a Down, they're always talking about the genocide of their native people. But these things don't get a lot of attention in Western school history books. But we've always been told this narrative about the world wars and the battle against Judaism and the Holocaust and why Israel needed to be established. We've always learned that story. And again, the story of Judaism is what the basis of Christianity and Islam is. They are the Abrahamic religions. Their story is told in the Torah, the first 5 books of Moses. I just heard one of the guests on CNN this morning point out something I didn't know about the day the war began. They said that's the day that in Judaism that you finish reading the Torah. You complete your reading of the Torah on that day. Annual festival in Judaism. Again, the Torah, the first 5 books of Moses. Remember, NFL Week 5 was going on as the war was declared and had all this symbolism. The first team of the week, or first game of the week, was the Bears with Dick Buttkiss dying. Chicago Bear, great. And then them beating the Washington Commanders, which are connected to war and the nation's capital and the Pentagon, and they were renamed just days before Russia-Ukraine broke out. But anyhow, these stories that they put out, they're meant to impact the people that really are fueled by hate. And it's not to say that everyone who's in religion is fueled by hate, but the people who have hatred for other belief systems, which you see happens within certain religious groups. A lot of people can be in the religion and they're cool and they're not really mad at other people who don't believe like them. They probably wish that they believe just like them because they'd like to have that in common, but they don't wish death upon other people. But then in any religious group, there'll be a faction of that religion that's so about their religion that they're like, don't you realize all these people who aren't part of us are essentially our enemies? And those people start getting this enemy vision of other religions. And it's a common trait. And it's why I've been annoyed the whole time I've been here, because when I first started making videos, I would answer questions honestly. And as soon as the word got out that I was raised Lutheran, but didn't really believe in the religious story of Christianity anymore, but took the golden rule away from it and other good teachings, like any spirituality has, then all of a sudden I had people attacking me all the time for being an antichrist. And it's like, okay, I just said my honest take on my spirituality right now. But the people who do that, they're the people that just have nothing in them but hatred. They just want to destroy everything that's not in the same mindset as them. And again, Judaism, Christianity, Islam, they all have the same base root story. So they truly are all one. And again, with regards to them all being based in the Torah, the first 5 books of Moses, don't forget that in that story, Genesis 47, in the story of Genesis 47, if you go to that part of the first book of the Bible, Jacob dies at age 147. And this war in Israel just broke out on the 147th day of Israel's new age. And when I say new age, I mean since it was established May 14th, 1948. Again, May 14th to October 7th, the day war broke out, total span of 147 days. The next day, Israel declared war October 8th. It's also fair to say that's 147 days after May 14th, the nation's birthday. So it's either the total span of days or the days after, which hit October 7th and 8th, the days that this war has broken out that's not brought about all this news programming that's trying to get people very angry. And realize, just like how us in the West are hearing these atrocities by Muslims beheading women and children and just, ruthless killing, just nonstop coverage of this, you can bet that there's news networks in the world that are pro-Islam and, might be giving a little bit different picture. You know what I mean? And maybe constantly provoking more tensions there. And it's to say that the people who run these news networks, they're the ones that are trying to manipulate the spiritual beliefs into the latest agenda, the latest needless war that will bring about great wealth for certain groups of individuals while the rest of humanity will suffer, which is what always happens in these world wars. And we keep letting this happen. We're wondering how society got so broken. I mean, how much does war have to do with it? How many societies have been destroyed by war? And again, the reason I've been going nonstop for the last decade is because this is what we've been talking about that was coming. This is where they were taking us to in the post 9/11 era. It was clear as day. They're using the Bible as the playbook. If you know the Bible, it ends in war and cataclysm. Again, I don't think prophecy is being fulfilled by God right now. I think it's being manipulated by psychopaths. And I think we've proven our point relatively well. Again, for anyone who is new here and has not seen any of my work, I just re-uploaded on the videos tab. Notice YouTube made it so if you go to a channel you like, they sort videos now by shorts, video. The videos tab, I re-uploaded the video that you can also scroll back to December 29th if you want to scroll through a bunch of videos. December 29th, 2022, the day Netanyahu came back. We explained why he came back on that day. Albert Pike's birthday, the guy who wrote the letter about 3 world wars, the significance of the date beyond that, what it has to do with the ongoing struggle of Israel from its establishment up to the present. But we speculated then, this year, we should see a major war ritual with Israel. And we speculate also it could come around the time Yale turns 322 years old. And again, Yale just turned 322 years old on October 9th, a day after Israel declares war and 2 days after supposed the Hamas attack that's compared to 9/11. And again, Yale Skull and Bones, Order 322, the campus now 322 years old. Bush, the Skull and Bones member, was the president when 9/11 happened. And once again, Skull and Bones is modeled after the Knights Templar, how they bury their dead in an ossuary. Skull and Bones, Templars, related. Bush referred to the invasions of Afghanistan and Iraq as crusades at times. Again, those were carried out by the Templars. We talked about how this war began on October 7th, the day leaving 85 days left in the year, the number of Templar, and how Biden's address of what's going on here on October 10th with Israel and the war situation, that came exactly 85 weeks after his last speech about war breaking out with Russia, Ukraine. None of these things by accident. We're living out rituals. And the people who are so invested in these stories that they've been given since childhood, they're again, what I'm essentially saying is the people most invested in these stories that they've been sold since birth, they're also the ones that are being the most manipulated in a lot of cases by what's being done. And this is why it's been our job as human beings to wake people up into manipulation. Not to say abandon spirituality, but look at how mainstream religions are being purposefully torn apart by biblical themes. Biblical themes, just like Genesis 11:9. That's where the Tower of Babel story ends. Genesis 11:9, the tower that divides the world. What day did the Twin Towers come down? The 11th day of the 9th month. Right now in Israel, you have the 11th president of the nation and the 9th prime minister. Star of David has that Gematria 119, special number. So does Vatican. Been talking about what the 104th NFL season ending with Super Bowl 58 has to do with Jerusalem and Gematria, and how this will be the first ever Super Bowl on the Vatican's birthday. Again, 145 more chapters in the Catholic Old Testament. Israel established 14/5. From day one up to now, this nation has all of the timestamps in history. Again, if you're new here, the 16th century, got to go back to the 16th century. The Jesuit order created. English standardized with a 26-letter alphabet. The Gregorian calendar after the Pope. From 16th century on, you can just follow what's been manipulated throughout history and how it's been by this biblical Catholic Old Testament code, which makes sense because the Jesuits were to stop the Protestant Reformation, which Martin Luther led against Catholicism and Judaism. He said those religions were dangerous to Europe. He said you couldn't have a good Christian society with the influence of Catholics and Jews. So Martin Luther was kind of like the Hitler of his times in a way, depending on what history book you're reading. But and again, Martin Luther out of Germany. Think about that with the Nazis who were modeled after the Jesuits. But from the 16th century on, this system's been in motion. And again, just like how there's 145 more chapters in the Catholic Old Testament, and the word Catholic equals 145, goes with why the Jewish nation, Israel, is established on 14/5. Old Testament's Jewish, 145 more chapters in the Catholic Old Testament than Protestant Old Testament. Just like there's 46 books, because there's 7 extra books. Do it the small way, Catholics 46, like Joe Biden, number 46, elected 46 weeks after the Pope's birthday. And part of the reason I'm so redundant is because in every video, I have people who come here and attack and say, I'm just covering up for the small hats. My whole channel is about covering up for the small hats. You guys, I'm trying to get you to think, because this whole truth community, and when I say whole, I probably mean like at least 80% of it, blames everything on Jews and Israel. They think Jews and Israel run the world. We're literally reminding constantly. In Gematria, Pope equals 52. P's the 16th letter, O's the 15th, P's the 16th, E's the 5th. Added up, Pope 52, 52-week calendar, named after the Pope. AD, this time frame we're on is in correspondence with Jesus Christ's life. Again, recognize Jesus Christ as Messiah. That's the difference between Jews and Christians. Jews say that the Messiah will not come until the third temple. That's the biblical prophecy, and or the Jewish prophecy. And remember, they're raising money to build that third temple, and they want to build it on Al-Aqsa Mosque. And there was a mainstream show in 2015 that came out about hardliner Zionists blowing up Al-Aqsa Mosque to build the third temple there. And it's called Dig, and you dial 811 before you dig. You know those dig stickers in America? You ever see those? Like, call 811 before digging. The show Dig, about blowing up that mosque. Remember what happened on August 11th in 2018? Tear gas all over Al-Aqsa Mosque. The Israeli police ransacked the Muslim worshipers on their high holy day. Again, you guys, we've been building up to this moment, and we've been calling it out the whole time and saying, don't forget about these things, because you can see step by step. It's like they're painting the picture for the people who are awake so they can prepare themselves. Again, never live in fear, you guys, but at the same time, if World War broke out, just think about how it was when World War broke out in places in Europe and other parts of the world. All of a sudden, you got no power. You got to make sure you have enough food to feed your family. You got to have medical supplies. You got to have good hiking boots because you might be on your feet. You got to have ways to stay warm and cool. But you also got to make sure it's not too heavy because you're going to be moving. You got to think about these things. Those who don't have a plan to fail. And again, I'm not saying live in fear, but all the signs are here that they're taking us into the next world war. And remember, when Netanyahu came back, he came back on Albert Pike's birthday, 1229. And Albert Pike wrote the letter to Manzini about the 3 world wars to come. The only Mason, the only Confederate general and Mason, I should say, with a statue in his honor in D.C., which got pulled down in a big ritual a year to the day of Juneteenth, synced up with January 6th. But anyway, everything I'm talking about, this is the point we need to transition to. Today, Netanyahu's office puts out these images of dead babies. And I was watching Fox and CNN, and they both kept just showing one singular image as they said plural dead babies. So I'm sure somewhere else there's more pictures of babies. But Fox and CNN are choosing to show the same image, which is mostly blurred out, so you really can't see anything. But this is the point I want to make. Just like I've talked about from day one, I'm going to close these other ciphers. Just like I learned it in the beginning, the most significant cipher in the English language is the alphabetic order with numerology. And we're going to come back to the Yom Kippur War. But just the word baby is 12, right? So CNN and Fox News are both showing the same image all morning from Netanyahu's office about the dead baby on the 12th. And then simultaneously, while they're showing that, they're also saying that the death of Israelis is now up to 1,200. 1,200, 1,200, 1,200. And they'll probably emphasize it 8 times. And then on the 9th time, they'll also show you how many people are dead in Gaza, and it's a bigger number. But they hardly talked about that one. But they focused on the 1,200 dead Israelis on the 12th, right after they showed you the image of the dead baby. Yesterday, what were they saying? Yesterday, they were saying 1,100 were dead in Israel on the 11th. What were they saying the day before that on the 10th? They were saying 1,000 plus. And now remember, tomorrow's October 13th, Friday the 13th. The Friday the 13th in history that the superstition comes from is October 13th, 1307, when the Templars were burned at the stake. Again, Templars, the 85 gang with the 85 rituals going down in Israel, where the Templars used to guard Solomon's temple, which is now Al-Aqsa Mosque. Anyhow, day after day, you have this knowledge. You see how they contrive the propaganda to manipulate your mind, and they do it by this Kabbalistic numerical code. In Hebrew, it's understood that every letter is a number. And it's understood that words have numerical values that are associated with the Old Testament and the biblical, you know, texts. The Tanakh, the Torah, the Talmud, all these things. But look at this. The Yom Kippur War. Remember, this war is breaking out in the 50-year anniversary of the Yom Kippur War. And Yom Kippur is the most important holiday to the Jews. And they're always doing huge rituals on the time of Yom Kippur. And Yom Kippur just concluded very recently, shortly after, in the anniversary of the Yom Kippur War, the 50-year anniversary, war breaks out. And notice how the Yom Kippur War equals 84. Now remember, what day did Israel declare war? It declared war on October 8th on Hamas, 2023, the day leaving 84 days left in the year. And like we pointed out, the leader of Iran right now is 84 years old. And 84, you think of 1984, George Orwell, who was a member of the Fabian Society, established in 1884. We talked about how Fabian Society has the gematria of 716, and it's going to be the 716th anniversary of the Knights Templar being burned at the stake on Friday, October 13th, this Friday, October 13th. And when we had that November Friday the 13th, we had the major ISIS terrorist attack in Paris. Huge news, if you can recall. And now they're bringing up ISIS again. They're saying Hamas has now become like ISIS. If you're watching the news, that's what they're telling you. They become more radical. They're beheading people like ISIS. Just like all the beheading stuff we got in the days after 9/11 when they were trying to make us really have negative emotions towards Islam and that part of the world, showing us the made-for TV sets of people burning American flags in a perfect group circled up all in front of the cameras in a perfect chance. Like, this stuff only happens in front of cameras. You know, right now, CNN keeps going to Holly Williams in CNN. And I just like, every time they say it, I'm like, I mean, you hear like the Hollywood in it. We know atrocities are being committed, but they also dress up things just to present in news to be extra provoking. Like the baby images today. You know what I mean? How can we get them on the 12th? How about dead babies? Nothing sells the emotion we want in them and the response we want in them than a dead baby with a big blur over it. You can just see the little baby feet hanging out from underneath the blur. But the 84 list, just to go over it again. We talked about how it's synced up with the superior general, the leader of the Jesuits. In Gematria, superior general is 84. Again, Jesuits in the 16th century, and then about 30, 40, 50 years after that, you have English as we now have it, 26-letter alphabet with the agreed to spellings, Gregorian calendar. That's how we've been pointing out for all these years. How it only makes sense that this could be the cabal that set this up, since it's constantly synced with the Pope. And again, the calendar is named after the Pope. I mean, everything we're presenting here is based in reason and logic, accurate forecasting, which we've proven for a decade, and just making sense of the information. It's detective work over here. But again, the leader of the Jesuits, Superior General 84, the first ever Superior General in history, Ignatius of Loyola, died 84 days from his birthday. Go figure. United States of America, 84. The Catholic Church, 84. The Catholic Church and the Vatican, since 1984, have publicly had an alliance. And again, do you think that just started in 1984? Do you think that's the unveiling by the code? Okay, in 84, we'll reveal this. Another clue, going with the Roman architecture and the history of Washington, D.C. being built on the land that was owned by a Catholic named Francis Pope, known as Rome on the Potomac. And no, not to be confused with Pope Francis, the first Jesuit Pope. But anyhow, running the alphabetic order in reverse, State of Israel, 84, like the Jesuit order. Of course, they're both 201, like David Ben Gurion, dead 201 days after the anniversary of the nation's establishment, and the first Jesuit Pope, Pope Francis, being the first to live in Suite 201 at the Vatican, and the last French Pope, the 201st, and the Jesuits from France, and the Templars burned at the stake in France, you know? And again, in the Templar or in the new Jesuit logo, not the new, but the Jesuit order's logo, newer military order of the Catholic Church, who replaced the Templars. In the Jesuit logo, you have the Templar cross and the phrase Sus Hominum Salvator, which equals 85 like Templar. The attack on October 7th, the day leaving 85 days left in the year. The war declared in the anniversary of the Yom Kippur War on the day leaving 84 days left in the year. Zionism 84, Masonry 84. Notice how Sunday and Jesuit overlap in 3 out of the 4 ciphers. And again, Sunday, the Catholic day of worship, the day that Jewish Israel declares the war. They could have declared it October 7th, the day of the attack, Saturday, when they're at worship on synagogue. Of course, you take your good books to church on Sunday, another 84. Biblical narratives. The war breaks out on the last day of reading the Torah. Again, the first 5 books of Moses. NFL Week 5, paying all this tribute to the wars we've been talking about in recent days. How they got it all synced up. Look at the Gematria of Yom Kippur War in the 4 base ciphers. If you're new here, the 4 base ciphers are the alphabetic order with numerology, the reverse alphabetic order with numerology. So the Yom Kippur War with numerology forwards is 84 and reverse it's 78. Look at the word Sunday. 84 and 78 forwards and backwards, but not using numerology. John Thompson, who coached at Jesuit Georgetown, died at age 78 unexpectedly on a Sunday. He was the first black coach to win the national championship in college basketball, doing it in 84 with Georgetown. This year, Connecticut, they won the 84th tournament. The coach became 8-4 in the tournament. They did the ritual in the opening game where they said the net got snagged after they scored the 84th points, and they paused the game and took down the nets like we do when you win the championship. And the coach of UConn, his father, Jesuit educated. Maybe the son was as well. What just happened with Mike Malone's father? On the day leaving 82 days left in the year, Loyola 82. Mike Malone's father dies, former NBA coach. He just won the NBA championship. Of course, 82 goes with how many games are in an NBA season. Games 82 as well. You follow these Jesuits, you'll see they run your sports leagues as well. But the Yom Kippur War, so 84-78, they go with Sunday. 84-78, they go with Jesuit, okay? I remember the Scottish Rite also has the Gematria of 78, and Masonry's 84, and the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry was created by the Jesuit order in the banking district of London. But these other values, the Yom Kippur War, 219. Let's talk about that one. Roman Catholic. Do you see how Roman Catholic's 132 forwards, 219 in reverse? Again, Israel just turned 75 years old. The Jesuit-run New York Times article from October 6, 1940 about the New World Order pledged to the Jews. Catholic Church is 75, New World Order 75, Order out of Chaos 75, Order alone 75, Great Tribulation 75, and so on and so forth. But anyway, all these numbers are important here. But the 132, 219, keep your eyes on those. I'm going to write Antonin Scalia. He was the first Roman Catholic Supreme Court justice. Notice how his name's 132, 219, also 84. He died unexpectedly on the 13th day of the second month, the February 13th, the 44th day of the year in the time of number 44. There was a conspiracy theory put out that Obama had him killed. He was found dead on a ranch, which equals 44, like kill. Like hope, which Obama did. He ran on hope and then he killed it. But Antonin Scalia, 132, 219, like Roman Catholic. So he died on the 13/2. Look up what day his body was in repose at the Supreme Court. You'll find that it was February 19th, 219. First Roman Catholic Supreme Court justice. His body lay in repose on 219 after dying on 13/2. So that means it was 34 days later. I mean, big ritual, big ritual. And we're talking about the Society of Jesus. Jesus is 34, like cross. Oh, what is it? Is it Jewish is 34? Jesus is from Judea. a number of things. 34 is a Fibonacci number. Fibonacci numbers are the numbers of God. Rituals, numbers, the fourth book of the Bible, numbers. The tree of life mentioned right at the beginning, Genesis 3:22, the physical model for Kabbalah. 3 pillars, 22 paths for the tree of life. Genesis 3:22 mentions the tree of life. Again, this is where this code comes from. It's encoded in the Bible through the English translations and synced up with our language and calendar, just like how the old system, Hebrew, aligns with theirs. But see, the Catholic Church, they're the New Testament. They're spreading the new world order. And they're playing everybody for fools. They're like the ultimate gangsters. Okay, coming back to the Yom Kippur War, the only one we didn't hit was 186. And that new show on Netflix that cast members died while making it. It's like The Chosen One or something. If you go back and look at my work from when they died, when that news broke more than a year ago, maybe it's been 2 years, the deaths had a lot to do with 186. Vatican Hill is 186. Again, just look at the Gematria Catholic, you guys. Well, let's cover all the Catholic values in light of what is going on in Israel right now. For all the people who think I'm a Jewish Masson shill, which I'm also accused of, even though I was raised Lutheran and I'm not circumcised and can prove that all day. And I do keep debating on, is that the way to fund the movement? Do I open the OnlyFans where you can verify that I'm literally not Jewish to fund the movement? Because hardly anything came in for my idea to go to New York. But I know the trolls, they'd probably be all about it. So I have to make it real expensive. One-time peak. Definitive proof that Zach wasn't a Jewish shill. But you were proof of how you think everything that's running the world is a Jewish conspiracy. You know, the real, if there was really anything in my life that would make me the shill, it'd be that in kindergarten and first grade, I was in Catholic school. But again, we were only there because my mom could not, it was the way to keep me watched all day when my parents were working at Catholic school, at all day care, at a very, very inexpensive rate. Anyway, look at all these numbers for Catholic. The war broke out on October 7th, which we mentioned how October 7th looked really ripe on October 4th. We said, why October 7th? Vladimir Putin's 71st birthday, 71 days before the Pope's birthday, would make a lot of sense. Gaza is where the war, is right now. Gaza's 35 and Hamas is 35 years old. They'll turn 36 in December, so they're 35 years old and change right now, and 36 is no slouch of a number. 666 is the 36th triangular number. The Jesuit acronym IHS is 36. So Gaza is going to transition from 35 to 36 in December. But Catholics, 71 with the alphabetic order, 35 with numerology. JFK, the first Catholic president, number 35. War broke out in Gaza 35 days from the Superior General's birthday. His birthday is November 12th. November 12th, the war was declared October 8th. So that was 35 days before November 12th. If you need help with that math, the last day of October is the 31st, right? So from the 8th to the 31st is 23 more days. And then Arturo Sosa's birthday is November 12th, 23 plus 12, 35. So just in this ritual right here, the attack on Putin's 71st birthday, 71 days before the Pope's birthday on December 17th. The war declared 35 days before the Superior General's birthday. Catholics 35, like Holy See, like Europe. The Jesuits and Catholic Church used to be the government of Europe. Europeans now in Israel. Jesuitism. And again, the old school definition for Jesuitism is trickery and deception. That's why a lot of people knew how bad they were. That's why they had to be suppressed even by the Pope for a period of time, which is when the U.S. was being established. That's why Jefferson and Adams wrote their letters, worried about what would happen when the Jesuits came out of suppression. I think the popping off party was when they were, both found dead on the same day on July 4th. Again, Roman killing, Holy Roman Empire, holiday, Independence Day, Masonic occult, Jesus Cross, Messiah, Gospel, Parables, English, Jewish, Gematria, just every word I'm listing right now, they all equal 74, like the nation's birthday. But anyway, coming back to the Catholics, In reverse, 145 more chapters in the Catholic Old Testament. Catholic 46 books in the Catholic Old Testament. JFK number 35, killed at age 46. Joe Biden number 46, elected 46 weeks after the Pope's birthday, after sacrificing Joe Biden Jr. at age 46, inaugurated on the Pope's 35th day of his age. Again, all I can imagine, this is what I really think, because it's always the same type of stuff. At this point, the people who constantly leave the comments about, why do you keep covering up for the small hats? It's obviously the Jews in Israel, not the Catholic Church. When people leave those comments, I'm like, okay, are they watching any of these videos, or are they just trolling and automatically responding? And they watch some other channel that said I was a shill, so they just come by here to leave comments like that. Are they watching these videos? Again, logical questions. Why are we on the Catholic Church's calendar on their time? Why did all these things happen in the 16th century after the establishment of the Jesuits, who are known for being brilliant and clever and the hoarders of knowledge and super manipulative and politically involved? I mean, they've had all these warnings about them since 300 years before I was breathing. You know, all I did was came and said, well, let me see if these people are right. Let me look even deeper and see if I can find something to prove it. I knew there was something with numbers, like the fourth book of the Bible's numbers. You know, and don't forget, from that New York Times article, New World Order pledged to Jews, October 6th, 1940. That was 33 years before the Yom Kippur War started. 33, like Bible's 33. The only day of the week that's 33 is Sunday. Masonry's 33. Masonry, Judaism for the Gentile, because the teachings are in the Torah and largely in Genesis. Genesis is 33, you know. Secrecy, 33. We talked about how Biden, when he just addressed what was going on in Israel with Hamas, at the 33rd minute, he said that we got the secret weapon. 33 minutes past the hours when he said it. We were watching it when it happened. 33 minutes past the hour, he's bringing up secrecy. Again, the House of the Temple in D.C., the Scottish Rite, which is known as the most Jewish branch of Freemasonry. 33 columns on the outside, each 33 feet tall. They keep bringing up 9/11. Again, in 1968, 33 years before 2001. World Trade Center construction began, 9/11 made the code, and all the other things that went down in 2001. The numbers that they use over and over are not by accident. They come from the Bible. They have real-world significance. 33 goes with us as human beings. 33 bones in the human vertebrae. But there's rhyme and reason to all of it. Masonry's 105, Bible's 105. They had, again, it's Thursday night football was concluding on 10-5 with the Bears, you know, upsetting the Commanders after Dick Buttkiss's death. Again, when I say Dick Buttkiss and Catholic, your brain can connect enough dots to see, like, oh yeah, I sort of see what's going on there. All the pedophilia, right? The rape and abuse of children. Dick Buttkiss and kissing the ass of authorities, and the authority for a lot of history as we know it, his storybooks, Europe, Catholic Church, Rome, you know. So look at this, you guys, just how planned out it all is and how we're getting played. Joe Biden, right? Joe Biden. He came on the scene with Obama. Obama born on 8/4, right? Obama born on August 4th. And Joe Biden became senator-elect in 1972. His wife and daughter died shortly after, at the end of 72, right before he took office as senator in 73. Netanyahu is 73 years old right now. He's about to turn 74 on October 21st. Again, Gaza's 74. The Superior General 74. Jewish is 74. Killing is 74. Muhammad's 74. Jesus is 74. This 74 number goes, again, back to the Torah. There's a reason for this number, why it's all over in history, why this is happening at this moment, why we predicted that this would go on at this moment. Again, go back and watch the video from December 29, 2022. Spoke out exactly what to expect for this year with Israel and this. Now, Yom Kippur War began in 73, in October. Netanyahu's 73 years old right now in October. The word united is 73. Think of United Kingdom. Think of United States. Think of all these British nations all over the world. Israel's one of them because it was under British occupation until It transitioned to the Jewish state for full of Europeans after World War II. Okay? But 73 books in the Catholic Old Testament. The last is Revelation, which is 22 chapters. We've seen 22 all over the place ever since this kicked off on the 22nd anniversary of the U.S. invading Afghanistan on the orders of Ehud Barak, the leader of Israel, when 9/11 happened. Ehud Barak told the U.S., declare a war on terrorism, the exact language he used. That's what it became, right? The war on terrorism, straight from Ehud Barak. And he said Afghanistan and Iraq are the targets, exactly where we went to. And all for naught, only for Afghanistan to collapse 20 years later back to the same people who had it on the Jesuit order's birthday. A big cycle, a big waste, where we gave up a lot of rights and liberties and young people and wasted resources and created more hate in the world, all for nothing. And now, as if the lesson should have been learned more clearly than ever, here we go again, and we're ready to jump right back into it, and another war along the same religious boundaries in the same geographic region of the world with the same dates over and over, and people still aren't catching on to how we're getting played. Again, it's like a perfect circle, right? Remember, you guys, let's pull up the calculator. The most simple cipher, circle is 50. Circle is 50, right? The first thing you do in magic, spelling, is make a circle, okay? America also equals 50. 50 states. Notice how the word emergency is 50. We just had the emergency alert. Emergency also 95, that upcoming Super Bowl on the 95th birthday of the Vatican. But emergency 50, like America. This happening in the 50-year anniversary of the Yom Kippur War. And America, right there, right away, totally involved. And you see, like how America's 139 in the same cipher, so is Jerusalem, so is Freemasonry. And again, Jerusalem's 104 and 58, and the 104th NFL season's going on right now, synced up with all this, that concludes with Super Bowl 58 on the Vatican's birthday. And again, Templar is 85, like we talked about, but also 104, and the many other relevant connections to that number. But the word end is 58. And again, it could be the end of an era after this Super Bowl. It could, something crazy could go down at the Super Bowl, as they've put into a lot of predictive programming. The film Black Sunday, Some of All Fears, Batman. I mean, they put it everywhere. And then even in the Batman one, it's the whole Pittsburgh Steelers team. Pittsburgh happens to have the Gematria 58, like the Super Bowl coming. But this year, the Super Bowl's in Las Vegas, 86. And in that scene in Batman where they show you the number 322, again, American football is credited to Skull and Bones member Order 322, Walter Camp, and Yale just turned 322 the night of Monday Night Football as the Raiders win over the Indian Packing Company out of Wisconsin. A lot of genocides of the natives in the Midwest. And, but anyway, the only surviving football player on the field in the Batman movies, Hines Ward, number 86. Las Vegas, 86. Big bombs, Hiroshima, 86. Hines Ward with 86 touchdowns in his scripted NFL career, like how we're living out a scripted history. Las Vegas, 23, like Judaism. It's the 2023 season. It's Sin City. It's the Synagogue of Satan. It's, and again, the Synagogue of Satan. 223. Philadelphia, 223. Friday the 13th, 223. All this history is connected. All this history. Because the same cabal who synced it all up in the language, they're putting it all together. Friday the 13th is 106. Remember, prophecy's 106. Remember, the Balfour Declaration is going to turn 106 years old on November 2nd. And on Monday Night Football, when the Raiders, like European invaders, were getting their 106th win over the National Football Conference, over the Packers, named after the Indian Packing Company. You see how prophecy is 106, and so is Columbus. And again, Columbus was an Italian, like Jimmy Garoppolo, the new quarterback of the Raiders. And Raiders is 74, like Jewish, like killing, like what's going on in Israel right now from the European invader country that came after World War II. All part of the plot. Do you see what I'm saying? You guys don't know how much I talk about how important Raiders in 74 is. Earlier this year, the Steelers got their 74th all-time win against the AFC West over the Raiders on Sunday Night Football, and road teams became 8-6 away in that game. For all you guys who want to learn the knowledge and how it's meant to use to rig the games, just like how they rig your news. And that's why we've been able to predict news before it happens, like Israel's war this year and sports future after sports future for the whole time we've been here. So it's like, how aren't more people paying attention to what we've been doing? I mean, what we've been doing has been amazing. Somehow hasn't got enough appreciation. But here, let's go back to the Yom Kippur War. Notice it began on October 6th and ended 19 days later. 19. Remember, the Quran code comes back to the number 19. The Quran code discovered in 1968. The same year, Muhammad Atta, the lead hijacker, was born on 9/11. He's born on the first day of the 9th month and was the lead hijacker of 19 hijackers. 1968, Quran code that shows how the Quran is synced through the number 19. This war just happened to be 19 days. Remember, the motto is chaos and order out of chaos. Chaos equals 19. Order out of chaos equals 75. Israel has existed since May of 48, so it's 75 years old and change. Again, the war broke out on the 147th day of Israel's age, like how Jacob, who becomes Israel, dies at age 147 in the Bible. In Genesis 47, where Israel was drawn up as a nation in 47. Number of government and authority and time. And it's right there with Obama taking the White House at age 47 and Biden being the 47th vice president, only for Biden to become president-elect in 2020, 47 years after becoming a senator. President, Caesar, White House, government, authority, Democrat, Republican, all those words equal 47. So does Vatican, authority. The word time, 47. The tropics of the earth, 47 degrees apart. France, 47, where the Templars were burned, where the Jesuits came to be. The French Freemason L'Enfant laid out DC. The letters DC, when you run the alphabetic order in reverse, 47. It's not an accident that Israel was drawn up in 47. The point is, the same people who are doing all these rituals for these nations, they incorporate the same numbers, one way or another. Just like this nation's birthday, the U.S. is the 4th day of the 7th month. The cornerstone for the Washington Monument, also on the 4th day of the 7th month. D.C., the cornerstone laid for D.C., the city, September 18th, 1793, a date with 47 numerology by a Mason, George Washington. The Masons celebrate the 47th problem of Euclid. There's a reason for all of this. It's not arbitrary. It's ritual. Masonry has rites. The word rite, as they spell it, R-I-T-E. Not like a right from the Constitution, but R-I-T-E, right, is a ritual. You perform the ritual, you achieve the ritual, you earn the right. All you video game players, you got to do this to get the thing pops up on your screen and says you earn 10 whatever points for doing this. You perform the ritual or achieve the goal. Like that kind of right. Except for in Masonry, some of the things they're doing are kind of weird. You're taking a blindfold and people are putting sharp objects to you to remind you that, you break the oaths. These sharp things can penetrate. Statues of George Washington, the Mason with the sword. Took down a lot of natives. George Washington, the first recognized U.S. president, even though there's others that could have gone down in the books before him, but just so happens that it was right after D.C., or the nation's capital, relocated to D.C., which was the Jesuit stronghold, and Georgetown opened in 1789, and then just days later, George Washington inaugurated. Goes down in his story as the first president. Isn't it funny how history equals 42, like Jesuit, like Freemason, like computer, like internet, and things like Wikipedia, like we're looking at, highly edited, a lot of important stuff taken down, information that's not accredited by the authorities that back Google and whatnot, and just being deleted from the web these days. JFK's speech about secret societies now so hard to find on Google platforms. 10 years ago, no problem, do a search for it. 8,000 different versions of it came up, some with people's commentary, thoughts. Now it's just like all gone. It's like, where did it all go? Secrecy in the land. But yeah, again, if I didn't say so, just how synced up it all is. Columbus is 106. It's also 47, go figure. Christopher Columbus is also 106. And again, the Raiders, Pirates, on Columbus Day, got their 106th win over the National Football Conference over the Packers named after the Indian Packing Company. That ritual in the NFL, while Israel's breaking out, where the native people, the people that have been there, their ancestors have been there for quite some time, longer than the Europeans have been there, put there in 1948, those people are getting, again, the worst of what's going on right now. And it's bad for all people. I'm sticking up for all people there, but again, I'm also bringing a fair perspective. And I'm saying, look, it's not the people, it's not the poor people of Gaza. It's not the poor people of Gaza who are orchestrating these rituals on the world. That's the larger pattern to recognize. And these patterns have been going on since before Israel existed. So there's no way you can blame Israel for being the center of all this. You trace history, like I've traced history. You can, and I'm not saying this started with the Catholic Church either, but I'm saying who's running the show at this day and age, who needs to be stopped from what they're doing, plus other people. I'm not saying you just stop the Catholic Church and their rituals and that would solve everything in the world either. That's not the point. The point is, I'm trying to get people to think about why we're on their calendar, why their history keeps getting paid tribute to in their parts of the world as seemingly they spread their power and influence. If you guys didn't realize, everything Pope Francis asked for in the time of COVID, it's too much to explain. But we've been documenting it all. You guys can read the books I have out there. You can search the other posts. It's not hard to see who's in control of the agendas that are literally destroying people's lives, okay? And it doesn't mean every Catholic's responsible. It doesn't mean every Jew or Christian's responsible. It means certain people within these religions are pulling strings and having major influence. And then other people who are part of these religions, who are emotionally invested, become part of the agenda. And they might ultimately all think that they're doing the right thing. They might think fighting for their religion is what God wants because they've been taught that their God is the superior God and the other gods are wrong. What I'm trying to show people over here is like, look into all these different beliefs and teachings and go through the world in open eyes and see what's resonating. When you feel Creator speaking to you, like how's Creator speaking to you? Like, I don't think Creator actually speaks. And I don't think Creator manifests himself in the physical world, but Creator uses the physical world, which is his creation around us, to make things happen that are signs to us. And when we recognize them because we know why it stands out. I mean, I was just talking about this days ago, and I've talked about this kind of stuff forever. But I don't have hatred for any religious group. I do have hatred. And by the way, all this 74 stuff with Gaza being 74 right now in the Superior General and these things being fueled on hate, look at the Gematria of hate. When you run the alphabetic order in reverse, hate is 74. Again, forwards, Jesus 74, Muhammad 74, Jewish 74, Messiah 74. Again, the list goes on. Occult. Again, Jesus, cross, Messiah, gospel, parables. They're all 74. You got to ask, who would sync all that up? Why is Jesus Christ in reverse also 74? Why is George Washington the Mason 74? And why in the nation's capital, Washington, D.C., where you got to pledge on the Bible, why at the Capitol building is there a portrait up on the top of the roof of George Washington floating in the clouds like Jesus? And in the bottom of the building, there's an open tomb for George Washington, just like there's an open tomb for Jesus. What's going on? You know? By all the Roman architecture when Holy Roman Empire is 74, and so is Roman. And again, the form of governments we're under and the militaristic rule. All of these concepts go back to Rome and Greece and the New Testament written in Greek. I mean, you can go on and on and on, but I've been doing that. And isn't it something, though? This was the big 84 piece I was overlooking. And here, to go back to the Yom Kippur War. Look at this. Joe Biden took office January 20th, 1973 as a senator. October 6th, 1973, when the Yom Kippur War began, was 37 weeks. Now, remember, 37 is very special in Hebrew Gematria. The opening verse of the Bible, in Hebrew, it's amazing the way it codes the numbers 37 and 73. Hebrew, the Hebrew language. You can search on, if you just search on YouTube, Hebrew Gematria 3773, the video is going to pull up. Note, it's one of the biggest Hebrew teachings there is, but it's a special number, 37. And remember, like the word perfect is 37. American is 37. I mean, speaking of perfect, Zachary's 37. Just joking. Just joking. But Joe Biden, and just their ritualism, right? Joe Biden installed that year. All these years later, you can see it's like the biggest sickest joke there ever was. This old declining man in this old declining nation with old declining infrastructure where everyone's just babbling and not making sense. Joe Biden's just so symbolic of this nation I'm living in. It's the ultimate joke. And notice Joe Biden's 44 in reverse, like how he was VP with number 44. But think about that. Joe Biden, now the leader of the nation, while this is happening, and all these years ago, it was 37 weeks after his birthday in 73. Watch the video on Hebrew, Gematria, Old Testament, 5 books of Moses, first verse, Genesis 1:1, 3773. It's actually really cool. And again, they got to fulfill the book. Bob Marley sang about it. Remember, Marley equals 74. Went solo in 74. In London, 74. Like English, like Gematria, like energy. Again, this big special number. Manipulating the energy of the world right now. Maybe the worst it's ever been. You know, I'm not around real religious people, but I know how they can be. I just know there's it's psychological warfare what they're doing to the world, and they're taking advantage of people's mental training. Had we been born in a different world, these tactics they're using against us, they wouldn't be as effective. Because they'd be like, well, I don't know that story. That story doesn't resonate with me. But they're hitting stories that they know the majority of the world have been told all across the world. It starts to make sense why, like, Britain and the Catholic Church are in, Burma, where Sweet Lady's from, and they're spreading English and they're spreading the Bible and the teachings of Christianity. They've needed to get more people worldwide invested in these stories. The longest civil war in the world is in Burma, and it's all over religion. Buddhists fight with Muslims, fight with Christians. They all fight with each other. Burma is like an Israel, Palestine situation in Asia. And that's why when they pull off these events, they're going to get people to fight over the same types of divisions worldwide because they spread these stories and divisions everywhere. New Testament for the New World Order. And yeah, anyway, like I've said, you learn this knowledge, you'll see how they're trying to harvest your energy. And that's why the media is going crazy with the dead baby image today on the 12th. That's the bait. They know they got the mind psychologically charged. It's a recipe for chaos and disaster. And again, the chaos code in 19 and how the Yom Kippur War ended 19 days after it started. I mean, something else. Something else. So I think I hit all the main points. The state of Palestine is another 104. Interesting. Okay. Interesting. Congrats to the winner. Says, check out the movie Final Score about a stadium that gets terroristic bomb threats with Batista starting in it. He was known for its Batista bomb, WWE. Final Score, huh? Yeah, and again, if you've never seen the Black Sunday. If you don't know this film, Steelers Cowboys is the Super Bowl in this one. But this was a high production film at the time. Like, you go back and watch this film, you'll be impressed at you can tell it was high budget. It's like, wow, this film looks really good for the 70s. Came out in 1977. American action thriller directed by John Frankenheimer and based on Thomas Harris's novel of the same name. Again, Black Sunday. It was produced by Robert Evans and stars Robert Shaw, Bruce Dern, and Martha Keller. It was nominated for the Edgar Allan Poe Award in 1978. Wait a minute, you guys. Oh, man. Remember what we just talked about? The 174th death anniversary of Edgar Allan Poe was the day this war broke out. Here. Wow. I covered this film like back in 2013 or 14 when I first started. And there was I'd have to go back and watch it again. I was blown away. But here, Edgar Allan Poe, who the Baltimore Ravens are named after, you see how he died on October 7th in history, 1849. That means this year, 2023, was the 174th anniversary. Now, the football team that's named after Edgar Allan Poe is the Baltimore Ravens. And just using the most simple cipher, Baltimore Ravens is 174. Edgar Allan Poe's 174th death anniversary just passed. Now, Mike Tomlin, who's the coach of the Steelers, and the Steelers are in that film, he just got his 174th win beating the Baltimore Ravens, and his record became 174-95. Notice how Baltimore's 95, most Catholic city in America. Again, the Super Bowl is on the 95th birthday of the Vatican. The Jesuits were created to counter the 95 Theses and recognized by Rome on September 27th, the day leaving 95 days in there. So Mike Tomlin just became, in here, I'll just show this to you for anyone who doesn't know this. Go to the website, Football Reference, have like every head coach's stats. Mike Tomlin's the coach of the Steelers. And born in 72, the same year that film came out. Crazy. Born on the Ides of March, the 74th day of the year. Again, the Steelers are run by the Rooney family, the only open Jesuit family in the NFL. But here you can see his coaching stats. He has 166 wins in the regular season. And over here in the postseason, he has 8 playoff wins and 9 playoff losses. So his total wins are 166 regular season plus 8 in the postseason for 174 total wins. And his regular season losses are 95. If you add his playoff losses, 104 total. Okay? So Baltimore Ravens 104, Baltimore 95. Again, synced up with the war in Israel, where the capital has recently become Jerusalem, against the 104th NFL season. Think about how perfect Mike Tomlin's record is. How perfect his record is in light of this ritual. And I didn't even mean to connect. I already knew about that part, but now I'm just going, oh my God. And also, Kenny Pickett became 10-7 in the NFL as a starter, the starter for the quarterbacks. Pickett to Pickens. But he became 10-7 on the date 10-7, on the anniversary of Edgar Allan Poe's death, as they beat the Ravens. I forget what the poem's about. I know it's about death. I know I've done better work on that in the past, too. It's just been so long since I talked about it. The Raven was published in 1845. That was 168 years ago. New York City's 168. I got to go back and I got to go back and do that proper. I got to do it. But I should go back and watch Black. We all should. We should all. I wish we all like lived in the same city and we get like an outdoor theater and the weather was decent outside and we could just watch like Black Sunday together and talk about it as a community and figure out a plan for how to go out to every NFL stadium and say, look, you guys, look at how rigged this league is. Look how sick it is. You didn't get after 9/11, Patriot Act, Patriots, 1968, and the New York Jets when all the plan went into motion for 9/11. Now what they're doing in this year at this time. There's a real reason to, I'd still be surprised if they did anything to Super Bowl 58. But if they really wanted to get things popping, that would be the way to really get the U.S. and its people emotionally invested in supporting another world war. Can you imagine an attack on the Super Bowl? Can you imagine if the headline was possibly 50,000 dead at Super Bowl? These people are sick enough to do it. But just even the threat of it being possible should be enough for people to boycott the games once they realize what's going on. Come on, man. This thing right here, this latest piece we just connected with this, if somehow the Steelers go on a run and ended up in the Super Bowl, here's what would make me, the teams in this movie when the game is attacked are the Steelers and the Cowboys. And right now, neither of them look like the Super Bowl team this year, but there's a long season, a lot could change. If somehow, some way they ended up making that the Super Bowl, you'd have this movie connected. You'd have The Dark Knight Rises. In the Sum of All Fears, Baltimore's part of it. The bomb goes off in Baltimore. Again, this Super Bowl's on the 95th birthday of the Vatican, where Baltimore's 95. Here's the plot of the movie. Michael Lander is a pilot who flies the Goodyear blimp over National Football League games to film them for network television. Secretly deranged by years of tortures as a POW in the Vietnam War. Remember, Vietnam equals 84, you guys. That's where the U.S. first admitted weather warfare, flooding out the Vietnamese troops with cloud seeding. He had a bitter court-martial on his return and a failed marriage. He longs to kill himself and to take with him as many as possible of the cheerful, careful civilians he sees from his blimp each weekend. So that's one of the guys. He's lost his mind from the war. He's a former war guy. Keep in mind, like a Timothy McVeigh type story, like a lot of these mass shooters. Lander is desperately in love with Dalia Ayed, an operative from the Palestinian terrorist group Black September. September 9/11. This is before 9/11, right? This is 1977. And let's not forget how important 77 is to 9/11. And let's not forget Tom Brady, born in 77, 201 years after the Illuminati in the country. 201 passing yards in the last Super Bowl. Married to Giselle, born on the 201st day of the year. If you're new here, 201. That is Jesuit Illuminati high calling card. That's why Pope Francis the first to live in Suite 201 at the Vatican. But an operative of Black September who controls and manipulates him. They conspired together to launch a suicide attack using a bomb composed of plastic and 250,000 steel flechettes. They planned to mount a French word. Got to be a French word. They planned to mount the bomb on the Jesuits are from France. The Templars were burned there. Pope Francis, they planned to mount the bomb on the underside of the gondola of the Goodyear blimp, which traditionally flies over the Super Bowl football game, and detonate over the Miami Orange Ball during Super Bowl X. Next year's 24, you guys, 2024. X is the 24th letter. X marks the spot. The Super Bowl is not in Miami, but the Dolphins are having a deadly year. In order to call attention to the plight of the Palestinians and punish the United States for supporting Israel. During a raid on a Black September safe house in Beirut, remember what they just did in Beirut on Barack's birthday, the big explosion, 8/4? Blamed it on fireworks, like the Jesuits are known for trying to blow up British Parliament with fireworks. Barack Obama, the Beirut barracks bombing, got U.S. and French troops. The Israeli counter-terrorist Mossad agent David Kabakov, I guarantee he's circumcised, surprises Ayad while she is showering. His mission was to kill everyone in the unit. However, seeing her unarmed and naked, he spares her life and turns his attention to clearing the rest of the safe house, and she escapes. When the raid is complete, Kabakov finds a recorded message which Ayad had planned to publish after the terrorist attack. The recording explains the motive for the terrorism, but does not include any specific information about the attack plan itself. Collaborating with FBI agent Sam Corley, Kabakov and his partner Robert Moshevsky try to learn the details of the plan. Meanwhile, Black September bribes freighter captain Takiki Agua, I like how we got Poland and Japan in here like it's the World War, to transport the plastic explosives disguised as statuettes, like the Statue of Liberty from France. Agua puts the explosives aboard Ayad and Lander's motorboat, but the two terrorists are discovered by the Coast Guard and forced to flee. Anyway, I got to admit, man, the Edgar Allan Poe Award is blowing my mind in light of what we documented in this past week's NFL game. And maybe a reminder of the Gematria Black Sunday. Let me see what Black Sunday's all got. I'm even going to go big ciphers. Let me see what's under this title, Black Sunday. 113, okay, number of deception. Dallas, number 2. Dallas got that 113. 32, NFL 32, 32 teams. America 32, Scottish 32, Jerusalem 32, 32 sun rays on the Jesuit logo. 184, not sure where that fits in here. 67, we know that's number of death and sacrifice. But yeah, at least it doesn't have the numbers for Super Bowl 58. I mean, it's not, again, not anything we want to live to see, but if anything did happen, we'd understand why this season already here with this classic film. Keep in mind, 77 was 47 years before 2024. 47 years. First Super Bowl season in the 47th NFL season. Again, 47 relates to foundation with the Masons. 47th, probably Euclid. It's another 47 word. That movie's 143 minutes. That's also 2 hours and 23 minutes, like 223. Big numbers this year, the Synagogue of Satan. Released on April Fool's Day, 4/1. Super Bowl 41, NFL 14 if you run it the other way. 143 is also the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry. Scottish Rite of Freemasonry is 143. 77. United States is 77 on the 77th Meridian West. Flight 77 into the 77-foot tall Pentagon 77 minutes after taking off. When you spell out September 11th, it equals 77 in Gematria, just like World Trade Center does. Judaism, Zionist theater, all 77. Curious about John Frankenheimer, the director. Look at the movies he did. Birdman of Alcatraz, The Manchurian Candidate, 7 Days in May, French Connection 2. Came out right before Black Sunday. Isn't Ronan the Assassin movie? I forget what Roman's about. This guy was born on 2/19. He died on July 6th at age 72. Black Sunday came out. Or no. Hold on. Let me go back to the Black Sunday thing. There was something about Black Sunday in 72. Oh, it was based on what happened at the 1972 Summer Olympics with Black September, the terrorist group. Jesuit Orders 72, 72 demons in the Goetia, 72 names of God in Kabbalah. Joe Biden, senator-elect in 72, loses his wife and daughter. When he's 72 years old, loses Beau Biden. After his wife turns 72, she's got COVID. It's a national news story. Jesuit Order 72. Go back and look at that terrorist group too. Black September. 84. What do you know? Black September is 84. 132 like Roman Catholic. 51 like federal like conspiracy. Like Dick Butkus, dead as it's all set off. Number 51, 51 weeks after the last meeting of teams. 246 is another number that goes with the Catholic Church. Catholic Church is 132 and 246. It's like Black September. 84. I hope we don't have to go back over the 84 because it was the main point. Let me go back and look at Harbaugh too. Go back and look at his numbers one more time. He's the coach of the Ravens who was in this symbolic game with Mike Tomlin, who was also born in 72, on the Ides of March, who's 51 years old. Harbaugh, he got his 97th regular season loss. Death number, Brotherhood of Death, stayed on 150 wins, Illuminati number. All time, he got his 106th loss. He got his 106th loss all time. Prophecy number. The prophecy being fulfilled. The Yom Kippur War on 10/6. The New York Times headline was from October 6th. And we've covered why a gazillion times. So, Philadelphia Phillies, the 106 team from biblical Philadelphia, doing well again. And just the power of Gematria. After we thought the Astros, before the season began, were the most likely team to be in the World Series in the American League. And after the first game of the season, I told my people to hedge with the Rangers because what they did in game one was synced up with George W. Bush. He used to run the team. The game was 267 days after his birthday. That's the Philly area code. It was Philly versus old team, the Rangers. And the score was 11-7, which are huge numbers in Major League Baseball. And the All-Star game was on that day this year. And Vladimir Guerrero won the home run derby, coming in with 117 career home runs. It's been a big number all year. And again, just year after year, we're able to put down successful futures in baseball. And yeah, I did end up covering a space on the roulette wheel with the Rays after what happened later in the season, and then the Orioles. But it doesn't matter. Either one of the Astros or Rangers come through, made a profit as long as you covered those four spaces in the AL. And in the NL, we mentioned how Philadelphia could do it again in 2-2-3. Braves also look good. Always got to watch those Dodgers. Looks like good chance right now it's going to be Braves or Phillies. So, again, the game is rigged, you guys, and we're proving it year after year and showing again how the sports and the news and the world affairs are all synced up. We're forecasting before it happens. It truly is amazing that in the age of the internet, where everyone has this kind of video seconds away with a few clicks of a button. So few people receive the knowledge. And it would have been a lot better if it wasn't for censorship. But even still, back in 2016, we called every sport future Prince's death. A lot of stuff. You would have thought that year, man, the whole world would have learned what Gematria was. Might have been able to wake people up and not have them be mind controlled at this point by exactly what's going on and exactly what we don't want them to be mind controlled by. You know, if nobody was down for the cause, the soldiers would be standing down. There'd be no threat of war. The tyrants would have nothing. All the tyrants have over us is the mind control, and the mind control is everything. Because if they mind control you, they steer your behavior. Break the mind control, you know, it's a whole new ball game. Can I talk about the number 58 in the calendar? Yeah. Again, most simple cipher, calendar is 58. Most simple cipher, zodiac is 58. Most simple cipher, star is 58. We're on a calendar that the Catholic Church gave us that's based on the sun, which is said to be the nearest star. Run the alphabetic order in reverse. The plural stars is 58. Run the alphabetic order with numerology, Gregorian's 58. That's the name of the calendar, named after Pope Gregory. Right now, we're in the time of the first Jesuit Pope, where things have never been more in sync. Notice how Pope Francis is 58, but his name's also 59. Remember, Benedict stepped down on the 59th day of the year with February 28th to make way for Pope Francis. And then the 59th presidential election, we said how 46 weeks after his birthday was the election. And I said how perfect for Joe Biden to become the nation's second Catholic president 46 weeks later. But yet somehow it's been years since we've proven and shown all this. And again, even in my first book, you know, I passed the blame around, but on page 29, I make the points, the Jesuits that are the spear of this. Where is anybody's argument besides just denying what I say and just going, duh, it's so obviously the Jews. I feel like that. I feel like that's the only counter argument I ever get, and it's not a very good argument. It's like, okay, so I just put out all this evidence, and then you came into the courtroom and you said to the judge, you're like, duh, Zach's a Jew shill, and he's covering up for the small hats. So that's your argument that Israel and the Jews are running the whole world, and it's not through the Vatican on their calendar. Here, I seriously want to open up the phone right now because I think this is a problem that needs to be solved. As long as people keep blaming, just religions as a whole and not seeing who the authorities are that are running the show, who need to be held accountable. Again, humanity's never going to be able to unite and do what needs to be done. So let me open up the phone line real quick for all the people who leave these comments all the time. Surely you must want to call in the debate because maybe you're lazy. Maybe if you can flap your gums, you can give us a few more sentences for how you're so sure the Jews and Israel run the world when, again, every number on the screen right here for Catholic fits in perfectly with what's going on with Israel at this very moment. And it's funny, that Black Sunday movie even came out 46 years ago. Crazy. Let me put the number up, 509-560-4982. We can't get good calls. Maybe I'll try to call the ADL and see if it's going to be okay for me to share this information in the wartime without being censored for hate speech. It's like, it's crazy. Even videos where I'm like trying to stick up for too much Jewish blame, I'm getting videos taken down for hate speech. That happened after the Kanye West thing. Like, what am I allowed to say? I feel like I'm just not allowed to talk about Gematria when the video gets enough views. That's been my crime in recent years. If a video finally gets some views, it gets deleted. Okay, the number's up. Why the question is, why do you keep attacking me falsely and just saying everything's Jews? Remember, the Jesuits are a Catholic-Jewish alliance, but it's not all Catholics, it's not all Jews. Let's see, we got our first caller. 201 from the 201 area code.
So, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Hello?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So I found a really interesting decode about the whole Israel-Palestine thing. Did you hear about the hack that 23andMe had on October 6th?
No.
So 23andMe got hacked on October 6th, and the DNA of 1 million Ashkenazi Jews was leaked. And what's interesting is that hack equals 23, just like 23andMe. And, there are some big tech billionaires that got their data leaked. And one of those was Elon Musk, which was like the main one. And Elon Musk equals 106, just like it happened on 10/6. Also, I kind of feel like this is connected to Palestine. I found some of the connections in the numbers. Data leak equals 142 in the Jewish ordinal cipher, just like Palestine equals 142. I also noticed that Gaza equals 19, just like data leak is 19. And I just thought that you should know, maybe you could look into it. I thought it was
well, think about it. Judaism equals 23. It's 2023. It's 23andMe. It's on this. This is the news on October 6th, the same day the New World Order was pledged to the Jews. Look how it says 14 million customers, like how the generations to Jesus are divided into sections of 14. I got to go back and look. There's something about DNA in 14 as well. But it's all, the story from the Washington Post is posted at 9:47, 47 minutes after the hour. It's just like, come on, man. Yeah, there's something up.
Yeah, that's all I had for today. Hopefully you can do a post on that. I noticed that there's this whole connection with this. I don't know what they're trying to do with it, but yeah.
Okay, appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Yeah, again, it's all symbolic. It's all symbolic. Everything they do is symbolic. And again, the whole Synagogue of Satan. Remember what they did with George Santos, whose real name is Anthony DeValder. We called it before they even released the detail that his name was Anthony DeValder. 223, and there's that 74. But again, the Synagogue of Satan. It's 223, just like the letter written to the Church of Philadelphia. A Catholic who claims to be Jew but is not. That's what the verse about the Synagogue of Satan is. See, that's the thing too. Like if you talk about this quickly enough and somebody doesn't have enough information, they don't know what you're talking about. In Revelation, there's the letter written to the Church of Philadelphia about the Synagogue of Satan. Those who claim to be Jews but are not. Thus, George Santos. 201. Another 201. Is anybody alive except for in the 201 area code? Hello? Okay, this person's just going to call and not say anything. But I guess, see if we can get it. Oh, here, we do have another two. Come on. All this calling is 201. Can anybody call the phone besides 201? 201?
Can you hear me?
Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're calling back?
Yeah, there's one thing I forgot in my decode. Also on the date numerology of 10/6 when the hack happened, the date numerology was 23. That was the one thing that I missed. That's it.
Okay, yeah, you're right. The date numerology was 23. It was also 14. It was 14 and 23 in the different paths. Okay, appreciate it.
Okay, see you.
Okay, if we don't have any callers, let me see. I do feel like calling the ADL. The ADL who supposedly, and look at what, hey, let me show you what the ADL stands for. Come on. Getting biblical. 316 area code.
Hey, Zach. What's up, man?
Yeah, what's up?
So I was wondering if you could help me out with something. I'm like goose, but my great-grandfather, Stephen Van Buren, he was the...
You're mumbling. I can't hear what you're saying. Your grandfather's who?
Stephen Van Buren. He was a running back for the Eagles. He was a Hall of Fame running back.
Okay.
So he also goes by Stephen Wood Van Buren, if you type that out. And I just came across you like last year, right? And it's PH, right? So I want you to try to spell it out in your calculator and then add the Latin. And then, so the day he died, you look at the day he died, and you look at the number in Latin where you spell out Stephen with a PH, Wood, Van Buren. And this is like, I'm kind of freaking out right now. Like my voice is shaking because I just came across this last night. But in Latin, the Latin cipher, his death day is in the number, like the day they killed him. And the Eagles won the Super Bowl also a few years. I forgot what I was looking at. I don't have it pulled up in front of me, but when you look up the years he died, it was 2012. They won a Super Bowl, I think it was 2018, but the numerology from the date death to
they won the Super Bowl 5 years later. He wore 15. 15's the fifth triangular. They were in Super Bowl 15, the Eagles. He died 238 days after his birthday on 23/8. One of the biggest Philly sports stars is Kobe Bryant. That's his birthday. He died 4 years before Kobe's last season. And again, Eye of Providence has that Gematria 238. It is one of their ritual numbers, and it's in his death. Sorry for your loss. I'd have to look more into him. So.
Yeah, could you do the Latin calculator? Like, you know how you have your calculator? You have the Latin.
Well, it's just, I will, but it's not what we're talking about right now. We're talking about World War III breaking out. I'm sorry it's your grandfather, but yeah, it's just, you could have probably called in 1,000 other times besides today. So.
One more time, sorry.
Yeah, it's just, that's not what we're talking about right now, but I will look into it more.
Yeah, my bad, man. I rarely see you live, so I thought I'd call in and ask you about it because I just noticed it like this week, you know?
Okay. All right.
All right, man. Appreciate you.
Yeah,
Later.
thanks. Later. Yeah, I get suspicious of just like nearly everybody who does call in is off topic and nobody ever wants to debate, but everybody wants to slander online. It's like, I mean, sorry for your loss. We know this is what goes on in the sports leagues. Yeah, I'm sure it was part of Kobe's birthday that day. One Philadelphia sports star for another. We know that's the way it works. But and don't forget, with regards to 47, Philadelphia won the first pro basketball championship in 47. Okay. But yeah, I was trying to show the ADL thing. Did I get it up here with the call? Again, Anti-Defamation League. Look at the 84, right? And here we are. And in a way, the ADL's been deleting my channels left and right for a decade, censoring me. I mean, they're a big part of the censorship police, the ADL is. And it's like, wow, I feel like had you guys not deleted me, my message might have saved a bunch of Jewish people in Israel. So I kind of want to call the ADL and see if we can get a real conversation about that. Let's just try. We tried to call the ADL maybe 6 months ago, and nobody was picking up the phone. It wasn't like years ago where we call every branch of the ADL and talk with them all day. The world's just become so non-personable. Everything is like email and text and message chats. Like, I want to talk to a human voice. No, this isn't how. See, it wasn't like this back in the day. It was like there was a number to call. It's like, call in. Now the only number to call is the suicide prevention hotline. It's the only one who's still picking up. Part of the consequences of how they broke up society with all this technology. Let's see. Where's a phone number? Here we go. Can't get a call, so we'll call somebody who needs a talking to. 212-885-7970. User busy. What's that about? User busy. Come on, man. Who still has a busy signal? What do they got? A landline? Unreal. Over 150 liters of the ADL, huh? Is there any Jewish people out there that want to call in who sit around and probably troll too? Again, I just know a lot of the people who've taken me down over the years, that they've been unhappy about me pointing out the things with Sandy Hook and who are the parents and what religion they're in and how they want to undermine the First and Second Amendment, what it makes America, America. And I've always said it's not all Jews, but I said, isn't it funny? And it's just like when I was out at the March for Our Lives in Seattle, who was all the agent provocateurs that were attacking me. It wasn't hard to see that they were all Ashkenazi. I mean, Ashkenazis have a distinct look. So I thought, how funny, the people that are putting on this bullshit to undermine America and the trolls and agents that are here. And again, it's not an attack on all Jewish people. It's not like all the Jewish people in Seattle were there doing that, but the ones that were leading it were all that. So again, these are fair points to be brought about. It's like there's bad apples within Judaism that are ruining it for the rest of Jews. I want to talk to the ADL about it. How come I get censored for calling it out? I feel like I had the knowledge again that had it spread across the world, man. We could break this moment. They're like, I see what's up. Everything Zach talked about was true. They are doing it. He has not been tripping. There's nobody has a phone number anymore. And then the one is just busy. Here, let me try it again. Busy. I can't remember the last time I called something and it said busy. Busy. Look at this. Is it showing up on the camera? User busy. Like, since when? Okay. All right, Truth Seeker. Well, I think we can leave it there for now. Thank you to everyone who hits the like and the share. I do want to get out and speak ASAP. I might have to persuade Sweet Lady without the support though, because like almost no support came in. Shout out to Kayla Decode Talker. She sent a big donation, and I didn't want a big donation from her. She already does enough. But yeah, again, people they don't think this work is worth anything. Most people, which is sad. They don't think some guy giving up the last 10 years of his life to educate about what's really going on in the world and how it's being achieved and for what purpose and by what cabal. Again, we've achieved it. We've just found out that there truly are not enough people in the world who care. This knowledge isn't worth to them what a greasy box of gross McDonald's fries is. And sadly, that's where we are. So anyway, we'll keep pushing the message forward in hopes that one day humanity will have the breakthrough and things will change before it's too late. But yeah, again, to close out, for all the people that are just fueled by their ego, and again, the religion and ego, it's the thing that says my religion is the only one that counts. All the rest are evil. All the rest deserve to be killed. There's people like this running around in this world right now, and they're the ones that are going to get sucked in by all this baby crap and the rest of the propaganda on TV by the liars and propagandists. One more call. What's up, 571?
Hey, Zach. So this is something I noticed. Maybe this is just a coincidence. I doubt it. But, Travis Scott, he just released the Utopia album. And on that album, he has a song called...
So by just released it, we're talking about like what? How long ago was it? Like 7 years ago now?
Wait, sorry, say it again?
That album came out a while back. Like what? 6, 7 years ago?
No, Utopia came out this year.
Utopia?
Yeah.
What was his album with the real popular Drake song called? I remember it was popular years ago.
Yeah, that one's Astro World.
Oh, okay. Okay, so the new one is Utopia. All right. For some reason I thought that was Utopia. Okay. Tell me more about it.
Yeah. On Utopia, he has a song called God's Country, right? And on the song, so God's Country relates to Israel, obviously. And in the song, he says, God's country, this is war. And after this whole Israel thing happened, I'm like, wow, that's very interesting that he said that. And
well, we already know but again, like we should already understand it, right? We should already understand why this is. We've been shown how he's on the Jesuit puppet strings for a long time. So he's part of the same people making the whole script. That's why the concert tragedy was the same time UB40 of Astro was dead and the Astros had just lost the World Series. And then it was on Guy Fawkes Day, the day the Jesuits tried to blow up British Parliament over the King James Bible. And then he's connected to this family of witches with the Kardashians who are part of this Jesuit cabal. Thus, Caitlyn Jenner and the 201, another big 201 spell on humanity, the whole LGBTQ thing. So it makes sense why it is that way. It's not really weird. It's like, oh, yeah, well, that just fits in with everything we've been talking about.
Yeah, it's a trip. It's a trip.
Okay. So you have to look at the songs on there and see if any of them make sense beyond what you just said in terms of what's going on. So I appreciate the heads up.
Yeah, man. Thanks for listening.
Yeah. Oh, and here, by the way, from that album's release to the war getting popped off was 71 days later, just like how it happened on Putin's 71st birthday and 71 days for the Pope's birthday and Catholic 71. Go figure. So.
Wow.
Yeah. All right. Good one. Appreciate it.
You're welcome, man. Have
All
a good
right.
one.
Thanks. The album's 73 minutes long. The Yom Kippur War in 73. Netanyahu 73. 73 books in the Catholic Bible. Again, just over and over and over again. July 28th leaves 156 days left in the year. And, or hold on. Let me make sure that's right. Yeah, it does. It leaves 156 days left here. 9/11, the 156th prime. 9/11, Israel's 9/11. Check the Gematria on Utopia. Utopia. Utopia is 28, like Israel. Same cipher. 28 is a perfect number. Perfect. We talked about that when. Anyway. The thing about the Yom Kippur War starting 37 weeks after Joe Biden became president, like we talked about, and where 37 goes back to in Hebrew in the Old Testament and Genesis 1:1, and it's mathematics too, because 37 is the 12th prime number. 12 months in the year. We're coming up on December, the 12th month. Theodore Herzl, the founder of Zionism, remember he died on the 3rd day of the 7th month. Netanyahu and Israel got to 37 as well. Also 44 for both. Like Theodore Herzl died on the 3rd day of the 7th month at age 44, 44 years before Israel was established. And you know who else is 37, 44? Joe Biden is. Again, who was VP to number 44. Joe Biden's 152, and the first President's Day after he became president fell on the 15th day of the 2nd month, the 46th day of the year, just in time for number 46. Joe Biden, 64, shows up on Hawaii's 64th birthday to talk about the burning of Maui 13 days prior, when Hawaii was once overthrown by a group of politicians known as the Committee of 13. Sick rituals all over the place. Joe Biden sacrificed all of his wife and family in 201 rituals. Hawaii was made a state exactly 201 months and a day after Biden was born. Biden was with Putin 201 days after the Jesuit nation year began to discuss Russia-Ukraine before it broke out on Pearl Harbor Day, when Pearl Harbor's World War II and how the U.S. got involved. See, it's all the stuff we've been talking about. And I'm mad at myself because I've been writing this book with all these different editions of all this stuff going on and where they're taking us to. And now that it's not done, I mean, I can keep even adding more to it, but it's like we're here. All the stuff that I was writing about, as I've been writing this book for years, ever since I finished the last one, this is what we've been writing about, the greater cataclysm they're taking us to. And now it's like, damn, it's here. And I didn't even finish the 3rd book. World War III is upon us. And don't forget, you guys, New World Order equals 75. The October 6, 1940 article, 10 plus 6 plus 19 plus 40, 75 date numerology, New York Times, New World Order pledge to Jews. Catholic Church has that gematria of 75. Roman Catholic has that gematria of 75. Order out of chaos, 75. Order 75. Big time number. Big time number, and it's why we knew the 75th anniversary of Israel. And notice it comes after the 75th anniversary of the article, too. That's how planned out it is. And same Jesuits have always run the New York Times, that are running everything else. So. All right, True Seeker. Thanks again to everyone who hits the like and the share. Let me see if I can get back on my website. And I've been paying for this separate website. It's a reminder, Big Tech's their playground. Let me see if a new post is going to work for me. Yes. Okay, thank God. At least I streamed long enough to get my website back. I haven't been able to do a post all morning or work on the sports like I typically do, because this morning when I was logging in, every time I tried to do a new post, and that's why I have a web team that's always here. We've been hacked before. They get things fixed when they're broken. They know how to back things up when they're lost. So it's been good to have this web team. But this morning, for the first time ever, I was just like, what are the odds this is going on? And I'll talk to the web team later and see if they can figure out why it happened. But I was trying to do a post this morning. I just kept getting this message. There's been a critical error on this website. Please check your site admin email inbox for instructions. And it's like, okay, never had that happen. I just find it funny with everything going on right now and how important the reporting we're doing is. So, all right, True Seeker. Tomorrow, Friday the 13th, head on a swivel. Don't live in fear, but be prepared. You don't have some water around, some emergency supplies, a first aid, a flashlight. You know, it might get cold, a warm jacket around, just the essentials in case things get crazier faster than we would hope. And I hope, just like how World War came and it took several years before the U.S. was really involved, it could be the same thing again. We could be here watching from the sidelines. Eventually it comes, it gets even crazier. But you just don't know. And the one thing about the world wars is it's never touched the coast of America. I think that'll change in the time of World War III. So again, don't live in fear, but recognize what time it is. be prepared for the worst, but still live like it's going to be the best day ever, you know? And here, let me take one more call from no caller ID just in case we're getting a debate. No caller ID.
Yo, Zach,
Yeah.
are you gonna talk about the Matrix last couple videos and live streams about you?
So, like, what is that important about what's going on in the world right now?
Not necessarily.
Is that the thought that's going to be going through your head in case World War III does come to the shores of America sooner than expected?
I don't know.
How much does it pay to troll?
Well, Zach, I can tell you that, man.
Why does it when the trolls call out, like, you guys have this thing where it like fades out and then your voice comes back? It's something weird.
Oh, I'm sorry, man. Not anything that's causing that, but I was just curious if you were gonna respond to him.
Well, what's to respond to? He came on my stream. He said he didn't want to tell anybody his name or drop any gems because he had to keep it for himself. And I said, well, those are weird ideas for like being that secretive and that non-open about anything in your life when you're part of the truth community. I mean, what more is there to say?
That reminds me of these hustle culture grifters like Andrew Tate or any of these online millionaires. They talk a lot, but they don't ever actually give any processes of how you put one foot in front of the other to actually get to somewhere, you know?
So would you say that's true of me?
No, that's absolutely not true with you. With you, it's fucking legit. With what you're saying about the Matrix is true. Absolutely, he's just being vague.
So why did you call in to start drama then? I don't understand that.
I don't know if that's necessarily the intention, but I just like listening to you rant, dude. It's fucking funny.
Well, in the case of that, just to sum it all up, there was nothing to respond to. He's just talking out of his ass. I mean, it's just embarrassing. I feel like he embarrassed himself. I'm not going to show our text messages, but he's been blowing up my phone begging for a truce. I'm like, what do I need to do? I didn't do anything to you. You came on, I asked you questions, and then that was the end of it. And then you made a bunch of videos. I mean, it's just, he's the one. And again, it shows like, who are these people? Like, here's a really crucial moment in history, and all you're caught up on is some drama and that the questions I asked you. So it just shows you how broken society is and why we are where we really are. And people like him who drive around talking about how spiritual they are, well, what you really see is how spiritually void they are. They're not even up for the right things at the right moment.
In the simplest explanation, could you summarize what's going on with the Israel nonsense?
Go watch my video from December 29th, 2022. I mean, I called it all out what was coming out there.
2022, you said?
Yeah, I just re-uploaded it today, but you can find that. The video's still uploaded. Here, let me see what happens when you do a search for it. Zach, all right, which brings up Pele for some reason. Well, this is the one I just re-uploaded, but you can actually scroll back to December 29th and you can watch the original video. This is the original video I just re-uploaded the other day, so.
Yeah, I agree with your take on kind of history though, and how he came up. It's like if you do have any fucking solutions to help get these people and myself included in a better position in life, whether it be financially or whatever it might be, then start saying some step-by-step processes to make this shit happen rather than I know this and I know that. That's all fucking vague, man. It's not helping anything.
Right. All right. Well, appreciate the call.
Another online grifter.
Yeah. All right, man. Thank you.
Yeah. Get easy, bro.
All right. Take care.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, I mean, I don't know. Like a call like that's just trying to stir up drama and calling from no caller ID. But yeah, if you don't even know he's time out, don't even worry about it. Just a lot of people pretend to be things that they are not. And what I want to do real quick is find the original video because I know it's here. And YouTube has made everything so hard to search for. I think it might be on the GematriaEffectNews 22 channel. Let's see. Let me see. I will find it. Bear with me. They're doing something so it doesn't come up. There's no way that Netanyahu's not in the title of that video. But I did post the link to the actual video from December 29th. Here's a clip of it that somebody did. Hold on. Here we go. This video, this is why it's not coming up, because it's age restricted. So when you get that on, then it won't even come up in a search. So GematriaEffectNews 22, December 29, 2022, Israel and Netanyahu. You can see it was premiered December 29, 2022. Watch this video. You know what? I got things to do, but just in the background, I'll let the video run. If you have not seen this video, tell me I was tripping. Let's just play it again. Why not? Make sure I got the audio settings on right here. Here, we'll take one more call, and then I'll just play out this video. Denver?
Yep, how you doing, Zach?
Yeah, what's up?
Hey, this is it's related to the sports. I just want to throw it out there that you called the Rangers and Astros like months ago. For anybody that doubts your sports picks and all that crap.
Again, just in spring training, I thought the Astros were the best team to represent in the AL. And because of what happened in game one, and because we're declaring the game, I said, this is a big ritual right here with the defending National League champs and Bush and the Rangers. And we know how often they've synced these. When they start doing stuff like this, it's big things for these Texas teams. Ends up being the ALCS. But we had futures for both those teams from the very start of the year. Yes, we did.
Yeah, people that say, oh, go look at that guy's videos where Zach is losing money. I remember you saying it's going to be a Texas team, which is Astros or Rangers, and they're already there. And after the last World Series, there was a shooting in Philadelphia, and you said Philadelphia might go again. And there it is.
Indeed, because it's 2-2-3, and Philadelphia is the 2-2-3 city. So appreciate it, man. Thank you.
I remember that. Exactly. I put futures down for both. I have Rangers and Phillies in the World Series, but we'll see. We'll see.
All right, man. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Hey, keep it up.
All right. Take care.
Have a good day.
Yeah, you too. All right, here, one more call, and then I want to play this video. 847? 847.
How's it going, man?
It's going all right. What's up?
Hey, I was just calling about tonight's game. You know that they're both sitting on 200 wins, so whoever wins tonight's going to get their 201st win. I was just wondering who you think Chiefs or Broncos.
That's not what we're covering right now. I'll be covering that on Patreon, but later, man. Thank you. End of the world. People just want to make a sports pick. You know, it's like World War III's on the horizon. Who's winning tonight's game? Again, you guys, it's week 6. Revelation 6 begins with the pale horse, the white horse, just like how the Broncos are playing tonight against the league's golden boy, who has the same birthday as the NFL and the Constitution, old Patty Mahomes, in State Farm Stadium, winning the Super Bowl. State Farm 103, 103rd season in State Farm is the State Farm advertising guy. Mahomes wins the Super Bowl. I mean, the mockery is thick, you guys. Let me turn this off real quick. And then if you guys have not watched the December 29th, 2022 video, it's about to become the best part of this video. So I'm going to work on something in the background, and I'm just going to play this again. Tell me I was wrong. Here we go. Let me know if the sound's okay, and then I'll get to work. Often big headlines on this day, 2022. All right, welcome back, Truth Seeker. It is December 29th, 2022. Again, the date 12/29. often big headlines on this day because 1229 is the 201st prime. And again, 201 is a very special number to a certain order, and that is the Jesuit order. And that's why the first Jesuit Pope, Pope Francis, is the first to live in Suite 201. And it's why the news media was sure to let you know that Argentina's star football player Messi was staying separate from the team in room 201, of course, winning the World Cup for Argentina, the Pope's native country, the day after the Pope's birthday. But today, 1229, again, the 201st prime, we're seeing a lot of stories in the headlines that we've already documented in the past that have everything to do with 201. They said today, Benjamin Netanyahu and the most far-right militaristic government in the history of Israel takes power today. And recall, June 13th, 2021, that was the day Netanyahu stepped down, which was just temporarily. June 13th was the day leaving 201 days left in the year. And of course, he's the leader of the State of Israel, its official title, which in Gematria is State of Israel equals 201, just like the Jesuit order does. And let's not forget that David Ben-Gurion, who declared Israel a nation, who was its first prime minister, died in history 201 days after the anniversary of Israel's establishment. So it's easy to see why Netanyahu, with the most far-right militaristic government in the history of that nation, which isn't that long of a history, takes office today. Of course, the Jesuits who created Israel, and again, if you don't know who the Jesuits are, they are the military order of the Catholic Church that was founded by Jews who converted to Catholicism. And right now you're hearing a lot about a guy who's Catholic, who's been pretending to be Jewish. That's another big headline right now. The rep in New York. So anyhow, Netanyahu today, we're going to talk a lot about what this means for next year, 2023. But also today, George Floyd back in the headlines. Again, remember his full name, George Perry Floyd equals 201. His baby mama's name equals 201. Right after he was killed, you had a story of another Minneapolis man, Lamar Ferguson, whose name was 201, who said he was beaten by the same group of cops, which reminded us of Ferguson, Missouri, where Black Lives Matter jumped off, right next to the Jesuit St. Louis University. Of course, Michael Brown, 201. Again, for people who are new here, from Israel to the Black Lives Matter movement, it's all Jesuit. The Jesuits are the Illuminati. Of course, we know that because the Illuminati was founded by the Jesuit Adam Weishaupt, who died in history 201 days after the anniversary of the Illuminati's establishment. But don't forget, George Floyd was also killed exactly 201 weeks after a Gematria, who was killed on the 201st day of the year, which was July 19th, 2016. July 19th is the 201st day in a leap year. And again, in Europe, after George Floyd was killed, they had massive protests with a Gematria and George Floyd's names paired together because they were both killed in similar fashion by police, but both huge 201 rituals. And again, a Gematria was killed in France, Paris, France, which is where the Jesuits are from. That's why Pope Francis is the first Jesuit Pope. And his native country, Argentina, just beat France after Messi stayed in hotel room number 201, like Pope Francis is the first to be in Suite 201. And again, as all this is happening, we're hearing about Pope Benedict on his deathbed, who's 95 years old, from Germany, like how the Jesuits were created to counter the 95 Theses written by Martin Luther out of Germany, which reminds of the assassination of Martin Luther King Jr. on the 95th day of 1968, 201 days before the nation's first major gun control, where they started putting serial numbers on guns. But then also today in the headlines, on 12/29, supposedly Russia with the worst missile strike yet on Ukraine on 12/29. And what have we been documenting since even before the war began, before we predicted dead on what day this whole conflict would start? Again, 12/29, the 201st prime, go back to 2021, Biden's first day over in Europe at the European Union, which equals 201. He warned Putin not to go into Ukraine. That was 201 days after Biden's birthday. This year, on the one-year anniversary of that, the headline was that Russia took over the Donbass region where the military conflict began. And guess what Donbass region equals? Yes, 201. And then, of course, last year on Pearl Harbor Day, also in 2021, December 7th, Biden and Putin met to discuss Ukraine 201 days after the first Jesuit Ignatian year began, only for the military conflict again to kick off by the numbers. And all year we've been documenting these rituals with 201 and Russia, Ukraine. So sure enough, today they got to have a big headline on 12/29 because it's the 201st prime that, you know, it's the worst missile strike yet. And I'm sure there's even more 201 stuff floating out there on 12/29. But as for what's to come in 2023, remember, very important secret society, Skull and Bones equals 201. The movie about it, The Skulls, came out 201 days after Paul Walker's birthday, who was the star of that movie, who gets a red Porsche in the movie, only to die in a mysterious way in a red Porsche years later, 5 years to the day of George Herbert Walker Bush dying, who was a member of Skull and Bones, who was number 41. Skull and Bones does also equal 41 in Gematria. Yale equals 43. He was the 43rd vice president. His son was the 43rd president after the election came down to Florida, where his brother was the 43rd governor. Of course, Florida also equals 43. But anyhow, Skull and Bones, the powerful secret society, they identify by the number 322. They're at Yale, which was established in 1701. That means Skull and Bones, or excuse me, Yale is going to turn 322 years old in 2023. And it reminds that the founder of the Illuminati, Adam Weishaupt, died again 201 days after the anniversary of its establishment, but also on the 322nd day of the year, November 18th, 1830, 322. Remember, in Gematria, Jewish mysticism equals 201, and the key Jewish mysticism teaching is Kabbalah, where the physical model is the tree of life, mentioned in Genesis 3:22. 3 pillars, 22 paths in the tree of life. In Kabbalah, where this code of letters and numbers comes from, that is called Gematria. But again, next year, Yale's 322 years old, where Skull and Bones is, who's modeled after the Knights Templar, the old military order of the Catholic Church, who got the knowledge of Kabbalah when they raided Jerusalem in the time of the Crusades and then brought it back to the Catholic Church. Of course, 322, the reflection of that number is 223, and 2023 is a lot like 223. Another thing that equals 201 is the Holy Bible. And as we know, these psychopaths use the Bible like it's a playbook. In the end of the Bible, in Revelation, it says the Synagogue of Satan will rule in the end times. There's a letter written to the Church of Philadelphia about the Synagogue of Satan. In Gematria, the Synagogue of Satan equals 223. So does Philadelphia, a lot like 2023. The Synagogue of Satan are, again, as it's described in the Bible, false Jews. We're getting a big story at the end of 2022 that we know is going to transition into 2023 about a Catholic who claims to be a Jew who is not, but is a liar. And he has all kinds of lies. He lied about where he went to school. He lied about where he works. He's lied about everything. Do you think this story is an accident, or do you think it's all part of the ritual and the riddle, and he's just another actor on the world stage playing his part? The answer is obvious if you know what's going on. This George Santos, this is all part of the joke of going into next year. And let's think more. Again, the Synagogue of Satan 223, the 48th prime. What year was Israel established? Of course, in 48. What else equals 48? Illuminati, evil, tree. It matters that tree and evil both equal 48 because there is an evil tree of life. Again, it's even mentioned in Genesis 3:22. And hold on, losing my train of thought. For the last 2 days, I did not get a good night's sleep. But hold on, I'll get it back on thought. I'll get it back on track. Okay, so again, the Synagogue of Satan next year. Now, Israel was established in 48. That means they turned 74 years old this year, and they will be 74 until May 14th, which is Israel's birthday. And remember, May 14th written 14/5 in the majority of the world, like 145 David Ben-Gurion equals 145, who declared it a nation. Catholic equals 145. There's 145 more chapters in the Catholic Old Testament than Protestant. Old Testament's Jewish. But again, Israel's 74 right now, going on 75, two numbers that matter a lot. In Gematria, Jewish equals 74, Masonic 74, Occult 74, Energy 74, Gematria 74, English 74, Lucifer 74, so is Jesus 74, so is Cross 74, so is Messiah 74, so is Gospel 74, so is Parable 74. The division between Judaism and Christianity is Jews say the Messiah still hasn't arrived, and Christians say the Jewish Messiah has arrived. So Christianity is, again, the New Testament, this new story that extends on to the Old Testament. But if you're Jewish, you believe that the New Testament's a forgery and a fraud, and Jesus is a fraud. That's what's written in the Talmud. But anyway, all of this stuff is Jewish at the end of the day, even the Christian religion. It's just you're a different type of Jew. And again, this is the narrative that's playing out, and this is why everything is from the scripture. This is why the script that we're living out is from the scripture, and from understanding this, it's why we've been able to predict everything from elections to news stories to sports seasons, because it's all tied in. So what is going to happen in 2023? Again, the Synagogue of Satan, going to be a very significant year. They're mentioned in Revelation, which is a chapter full of war. Other clues in recent times for what we can expect. Right now you have the Arab nations worried and saying that they expect a military conflict just on the horizon with what Netanyahu's doing. And again, with regards to Israel being 74 years old right now, let's not forget the word killing equals 74. So does holiday, and we know there's always funny business going on around the Jewish holidays. Just like Jewish equals 74. And let's not forget what happened this year on Israel's 74th birthday. You had the supposed white supremacist shooting at the Tops in Buffalo in a predominantly black neighborhood. Remember, that happened on Hillary Clinton's 201st day of her age. And she cut the ribbon at the store because it was a big political thing when it opened. And of course, she's Jesuit educated like Bill is, who went to Georgetown. And then you had the Uvalde shooting 201 days after Matthew McConaughey's birthday. And again, this number's all over all their divisive propaganda. But anyway, they blamed it on a white supremacist. Remember, alphabetic order and numerology, white supremacist equals 74. Kind of like how Independence Day in that cipher is 74 and holidays 74 and all the founders were white men of secret societies. Anyhow, the oldest Jew in the Old Testament, or the oldest Hebrew, if you'd rather put it that way, was Methuselah, who was black. So the people we call Jewish today, we don't really think of them as black people. Occasionally the NBA will throw you a story where a league run by white Jews where Amari Stoudemire discovers he's actually Jewish. But again, you got all the clues for what's to come. White supremacy. What is that? That is Israel. Israel is white supremacy. A stolen history. A nation of the Synagogue of Satan. A nation established by a numerical code. And so much by a numerical code, people didn't even get the sick little joke that they pulled off. David Ben-Gurion, who's the founder of Zionism, he died in history on July 3rd at age 44. Zion equals 44. So does Israel. So does Netanyahu. So does military. Huge number with military history, 44. It's the year the U.S. deployed the most troops to World War II. But anyhow, never forget when Netanyahu had his 44 seconds of silence as a threat to Obama. And they always acted like Obama was some kind of villain to Israel, as he gives them more money than any other president ever had before until Trump came in there. Anyway, don't forget Joe Biden equals 44 either, his wingman, who's now the president over here, who supposedly got the most votes ever, even though liberal Seattle doesn't have a single Joe Biden bumper sticker or yard sign anywhere and never has. Anyhow, I say that because I'm up here. But meanwhile, back when Obama was the most popular president there ever was, everybody had at least 10
like Obama bumper stickers. That's the only Biden bumper sticker you'd still find, one that says Obama Biden from 2008. Anyway, 2023 will be the year of the Synagogue of Satan. Ukraine, Russia, look into history, look into the Bolshevik Revolution, look into who the Ukrainian population is. It's no secret. And also look into what that devil who still lives on said, Henry Kissinger. He predicted that around this time Israel would end. I'm having trouble imagining that, but that came out of Henry Kissinger's mouth. So we'll see how crazy it gets. Maybe they relocate the Synagogue of Satan. You know, maybe it gets so crazy in 2023 they got to relocate Israel to Ukraine. Because right now the only place we're sending more money to than Israel is Ukraine, which also has the same Synagogue of Satan population. And still, meanwhile, we haven't seen any evidence of a war. Unless you count, CNN in the opening days showing you the prop scene they were on with the blow-up doll on the ground where the anchor told you that was a dead body. And you had to be a special kind of stupid to not see it was a blow-up doll. And again, if they're doing stories like that, and you think there's a real war going on, you're a special kind of stupid. So, and realize it's the same thing. You can't talk about, you can't talk about the jab, the death jab. You can't talk about anything that's real without being censored and taken down for whatever, misinformation. Again, that's the Orwellian age we live in. You put out facts, you make correct predictions, you write the most accurate book in the history of the world before any of the pandemic happens. You get labeled the liar, the misinformation agent's like, that's funny because everything I wrote about and my predictions have all been dead on. Meanwhile, everything you forecasted, including what's coming out of the White House, that we're all going to die if we're not jabbed, is completely false. And in fact, it's the other people who are dying when we predicted that before the jab was even out. Go back and listen to what Bill Gates, talk about Mr. 201, William Henry Gates, 201, co-sponsor of Event 201, married to Melinda in the arranged marriage like I predicted before they even got divorced, that their marriage was only for and in tribute to the planned pandemic. And I can prove it all day. But again, main co-sponsor of Event 201. And they even got divorced. It synced up with the pandemic in tribute to the same numbers. Anyway, that's how gross this Synagogue of Satan is. And take a good look at Bill Gates. It's not hard to see that he comes from the same Ashkenazi bloodline. Not hard at all to see. But, 2023. You know it's going to get nasty while Israel's 74. And when they go into 75. And coming back to the shooting on the 74th birthday of Israel at the Tops, the store with the big cube on it, like how the rabbis go around with the cube on their head, because a cube has 6 sides, like Saturn's the 6th planet, and the cube represents Saturn. And of course, there's cubes at the side of all their big operations, like the World Trade Center, where 2 towers became 0 before it became 1. Cubes all over the world, from Mecca, again, all the Abrahamic religions controlled by the same people, to divide the people, to keep them fighting amongst themselves while they're ruled over by the tyrant psychopaths. But that top shooting, of course, it was on Jefferson Street, named after Thomas Jefferson, who died on 7/4, along with John Adams on the same day in 1826, 1826 days before Monroe died on 7/4. Again, the big killing number. Look up the song Gematria, the killing name, where Gematria, English, killing, occult, they're all 74, just like Jewish. Look at all the people I just talked about for Christmas Eve and Christmas that died in connection to 74, like Jesus and Cross is 74, the symbol of Jesus' execution by the state, the same state that puts their hand on the Bible to show you how good they are and how honest they are. But 2023, it's going to be a bad year. And they're telling you everything right now. The leaders in the area saying that they're expecting war. And again, right along the biblical script. And of course, all the religious people who are sucked into these religions, they're going to say, this is good. This is good. This is prophecy playing out. This means Jesus is about to return. And then over in Israel, they're going to say, this is the sign that the Jewish Messiah is about to arrive. This is the sign that Temple Mount's about to explode so we can build the 3rd temple. And then Donald Trump's just standing in the background. Remember, you guys, Israel was selling that shekel to raise funds to build the 3rd temple. You think if Trump comes back, we might see finally why those funds were raised on a shekel with his head on it? Again, all of these things are close, and it's not going to be pretty for the world. We know they have plans to depopulate. They are doing it right now. Right now it's a slow trickle with the jab, but it'll get a lot worse when their big war comes, and their big war will come. That's what these people do all throughout history. And again, I mean, you see what they've been doing all year with Russia, Ukraine, and continuing to pay tribute to 1939 in Poland when Hitler invaded Poland. Again, for people who forgot, on March 9th, we provoked Putin by sending Patriot missiles, which equals 201, to Poland on 3/9 to Poland. Get it? 39, 3/9. And then 39 days after Putin's birthday, that's when we got the story of Russian missiles landing in Poland, which the CIA confirmed, only for the next day them say, oh, actually they were Ukraine's missiles. But yeah, all of this is a build-up to something much bigger. And again, we know how important these numbers are to these people. 74, 223, 322. Yale, a major one of their power centers, again, turning 322 years old next year. Netanyahu coming back. I mean, it's all right there, right? Race and religion, how they keep people divided, fighting amongst themselves. And you can see who's pulling the strings on all of them by the same numerical code. You want to know what else is funny that's in the mainstream headlines today? I see that the news did not break. It looks like the news actually broke on August 23rd, but there's headlines about it today on 12/29. It's funny that it broke on August 23rd because that's Kobe Bryant's birthday and he was Mr. 666. But today it's big in the news on 12/29 that Boston, from April 28th through April 30th, of course, April 30th is the anniversary of the founding of the Church of Satan, but they're going to have their biggest satanic festival yet. And it's not hard to see why they're doing it in Boston. Boston equals 22 like satanic. And we know what just happened to Boston in the 22nd championship for them in the year 22, losing to the Warriors by the numbers, which was all foretold on the Pope's birthday. If you guys weren't here to see it, go back and watch. Again, you learn this knowledge. You call the sports games before they happen, as we've been doing for a decade, just like we call the elections, the news. Again, you learn this knowledge, you see what's coming before it happens. But anyway, Boston equals 22 like satanic. All this 201 stuff, remember Anton LaVey, the founder of the Church of Satan, he died 201 days after his own birthday and 201 days before the sitting Pope's birthday at the time. And of course, even in Gematria, Catholic Pope equals 201, which is who the Jesuits serve. And now we just happen to be again in the time of the first Jesuit Pope, who's the first to live in Suite 201, whose birth name, Jorge Mario Bergoglio, equals 201, like the founder of the Jesuits, Ignatius Loyola, is 201. But yeah, today, you just look at everything in the news today, all the huge 201 rituals. You're reminded of the Jesuits, the military order that established Israel by the Catholic Code. And again, for all the people out there who think Jews run the world, again, I mean, you guys should get off that because you know that's not true anymore. Who got the worst of the Event 201 pandemic? Israel did. Israel got the worst. So you can't say Jews run the world, because now you've seen the evidence that there's no way that that's true. If Jews ran the world, do you think they would have used their people the most as guinea pigs? No. Remember, Adolf Hitler's birth name, Adolphus Hitler. His real name is Adolphus. Adolphus Hitler, 201. You know? Wore red and black like the Jesuits. The Catholic Church never said a peep. Where do you think all the money came from for the Nazis? I mean, where's that piece of history? Because Germany was bankrupt. Germany had to pay reparations for World War I. Country was completely bankrupt. Everybody's in poverty. All of a sudden, they have enough financing to have the greatest military the world had ever seen. I mean, nobody's army was anywhere near as good as Germany's. The only reason they lost the war is because they had so many people fighting against them. You know, it was like 50 Davids versus 1 Goliath. Where did they get the money to do that? Think it came from the church, the richest thing in the world? And why are they the richest thing in the world? Because they conquered the world. Because they made everybody put money in their plate. And if you weren't putting it in at the church, you were putting it in at the government level because they control your government. That's why D.C. is all Roman architecture. And the Jesuits have been there in D.C. for longer than the federal government has. I mean, why do you think they moved to? Why do you think the federal government went from Philadelphia to D.C., the Jesuit city, which was called Rome on the Potomac? I mean, all this stuff is so obvious. Everything is so obvious. Everything is so obvious. let's celebrate Jesus' birthday on the Catholic day that they celebrate the sun in the sky's birthday. I wonder what's going on. The sun at its low point, dead in the sky, for the same amount of days. That's the story of the resurrection, when the sky resurrects, or the sun resurrects on December 25th. I wonder what this story's about. Sun. What does that word mean? Everything's so obvious. And then people get mad because I point out more obvious. Talmud's a nasty book. But is it wrong? Is it wrong what it says in there? It says Jews are more intelligent, thus they're the only people who should be considered to be human, because non-Jews are dumb, and their only real purpose is to work and labor and slave, so the Jews don't have to. And again, the Jesuits are Jews who converted to Catholicism. It doesn't mean that every Jew is running the show and every Jew is benefiting from this. But you look at the top, it's not hard to see who's running everything, from banking to news to media to Hollywood to sports teams to all the things that control the minds of the masses. But you got to be specific about who it is. Who it is. And by the way, you guys, you'll know how true this video is by how fast it gets deleted. Because remember, I predicted everything dead on about what would happen on January 6th, the insurrection, and those videos got big views. They were the last videos I had that got big views, and they got deleted the day after January 6th. And remember, that was a huge 201 ritual. For people who forgot, the Confederate flag flew, which we predicted it would, and it flew exactly 201 days after the only Confederate statue fell in D.C., which came out of the George Floyd protests. And of course, Confederate equals 201, and Lincoln said that the Jesuits were responsible for the American Civil War, which they scrubbed from our history books, because you can't really know what's going on in indoctrination school. You got to stay in the dark. You got to think it was just some racist white people. You know, they got a little bit too carried away. It's like, no, it's the same people that have been ruling over us the whole time, constantly causing division, controlling the papers, controlling the media, controlling the thoughts in people's minds, controlling the language, controlling the understanding of everything, so that they can constantly manipulate everyone. As they do. As they do. And again, just about Christians being another branch of Jews, which is true, who are the biggest supporters of the Synagogue of Satan? Is it not Christian churches? Of course it is. Almost every Christian is so devoutly tied to supporting Israel, the nation of the Synagogue of Satan, which has to exist. It's funny how the people don't really get it. But it has to exist for these same people to believe that like the biblical prophecies are coming true. So, again, you get rid of that book, you get rid of these Jesuits, you get rid of this false history, this false understanding of everything, you don't have the problems that you see manifesting all over our world. That again, every day are executed and played out by the same old numbers. Let me pull up this story right here. I just want you to see this. Largest satanic gathering in history to take place in Boston. Again, the Synagogue of Satan. I'm almost surprised they didn't choose Philadelphia, but Boston's not too far away. But again, I do understand why it's on the dates it is, because, again, the Satanic Church was established April 30th, 1966 in San Francisco. Remember, San Francisco has the Gematria of 122, just like Satanic does. Satanic also equals 22 like Boston. Of course, that was last year's NBA Finals. They're always doing tributes to Satan in the NBA, and that's because Satan equals 55, and it's a game of 5-on-5, and of course, the Satanic symbol is a down-pointing pentagram, 5-sided object, Pentagon in D.C., in Satanicville, Jesuitville, D.C., the military war department that's always going to war based on some lie, 5-sided, 5 floors above ground, 5-acre court in the middle, the Washington Monument, a big dick that's 555 feet tall. Anyway, in the year that will be the year of the Synagogue of Satan, it's not hard to see why they're doing this.
I gotta pause because I realized something about this now that I didn't get then. I mean, hindsight's 2020, But look at the Gematria of Boston, you guys. Big numbers that we talk about with Boston for a long time. They come up all the time in sports. With the most simple cipher, Boston is 85, and with numerology, it's 22. And again, the Synagogue of Satan in Revelation, 22 chapters. This attack in Israel on the 22nd anniversary of the U.S. invading Afghanistan. 22, the master builder number. 2 represents taking apart as well as coming together. Kind of what war does. Things get destroyed and then they get built back. Historically, sometimes better. But, and isn't that one of the mottos these days? Build back better. All words that start with B, the second letter. Anyway, notice how Boston's 85 though. 85 so important to what happened. Again, on the day leaving 85 days left in the year. Israel, Templars, history, Crusades, 85. We've made this point so many times, and if you've missed my recent work on this subject, you got to go back and revisit it. But Templars also 104, like Jerusalem. Jerusalem's 104 and 58. Again, Super Bowl 58 upcoming to conclude the 104th NFL season. There's so much more to say about all of this, but years of predictive programming and foreshadowing. And if you've never seen the film Black Sunday about the terrorist attack at the football game, carried out by a group of Palestinians or inspired by Palestinian extremists. Again, we talked about it earlier in this stream, but Boston, Boston, just sports mecca. You see how Boston's 85 and 22, so is basketball. Remember, they were in their 22nd NBA Finals, Boston was. They were in the 22nd NBA Finals, Boston. And it was in the year 2022, and they lost to San Francisco, the Warriors. It was the 75th anniversary season. And 49ers won the 75th season of the NFL as well. And again, San Francisco is named after St. Francis of Assisi, just like Pope Francis is, and he created the Franciscans, the precursor to the Jesuits. But, shoot. Oh, that's right. Bill Russell, who was Jesuit educated, who went to University of San Francisco and played for the Celtics and won all those championships with the Celtics. He died July 31st, 2022, right after the finals concluded between essentially his basketball cities, San Francisco and Boston, dead on the last day of this first ever Jesuit Ignatian year, dead on the 31st of July, the day in history Ignatius of Loyola died, the founder of the Jesuits. 31's the 11th prime number. Bill Russell won 11 championships. But basketball in 85 as well. The first March Madness under the name March Madness was in 85. Who won that year? The Catholic school Villanova over the Jesuit school Georgetown. And then John Thompson's death by the numbers on a Sunday, as we also talked about earlier in this stream. Got here late. You might want to rewind this one. We've gone through a lot of things, but I wanted to go back and do the replay of the video from December 29, 2022, just so you can see the stuff we're talking about, projecting. We've been doing this for a long time. And it's crazy that this community, not just myself, but other people have done good work too, just haven't gotten more attention in the world for what has been achieved and proven and established. Again, the stuff we're teaching is literally a set of knowledge that's being used to play God over the world. And it's more than that too. This knowledge is more than that, but it is important to understand just in terms of the manipulation. So with that satanic gathering in Boston, I'm just like, yeah, because now on the day leaving 85 days left in the year, on the 22nd anniversary of the invasion of Afghanistan, and that's the thing too, you guys, how many times have I talked about, weather warfare and military technology? Earthquake has the Gematria 107, 44, 55. Military 107, 44, 55. The fact that the military has researched how to influence earthquakes. Jesse Ventura revealed this as from his Navy SEAL days in the show he used to have. The guy who's been a wrestler, a governor, and a speaker of information. Most people don't know about the government. Some people say he's just a whack job that just said whatever, but he did say things like, listen, when I was a SEAL, we were doing experiments, planting big bombs in the ocean along fault lines. So you don't know that every earthquake's natural. But notice how military and earthquake are both 107. What also happened on that day? A big earthquake in Afghanistan on the anniversary of us invading. On the 22nd anniversary, when there's 22 chapters in Revelation, and Revelation's full of plagues and storm, COVID, the weather that at least they present is more dramatic in recent years. Noticed a lot of people in recent years have been saying, man, they made it seem like it was a lot worse on the news than it actually felt being here. It's like, well, that's what news kind of does. They love to instill fear and panic. It makes money. Home Depot and Lowe's love it when a storm comes to town. They sell out. But on 10/7, that happens to Afghanistan, a deadly earthquake. And the date numerology this year was 15. And at first they reported at least 15 dead, and then it went up to a huge number. But they started with at least 15 as war was breaking out in Israel. And again, it's Skull and Bones, 322. It's campus Yale's turning 322 years old. Skull and Bones that allows 15 new members per year. George W. Bush was the president when we went to war with Afghanistan. When 9/11 happened, one of these members of Skull and Bones, 15 members per year. The Skull and Bones Order, modeled after the Knights Templar, how they buried their dead, where they get their symbolism, but also modeled after the Illuminati of Bavaria, founded by the Jesuit Adam Weishaupt. And the Jesuit logo has the Templar cross in it, and the Jesuit motto, Isus Hominum Salvator. And notice how it is 85, just like Templar, just like Boston. And we've talked so many times about the establishment of the Church of Satan in San Francisco, and how it's synced up with the Pope and Anton LaVey, and how his death is perfectly synced with the Pope and himself. Again, 201 being the number of the Jesuits, like Pope Francis is the first Jesuit Pope and the first to live in Suite 201 at the Vatican. LaVey died 201 days from his birthday, and also 201 days from the sitting Pope's birthday. And again, I mean, what's more satanic than creating a holy war to manipulate the hearts and minds of millions of people and make them start having to take sides? Because I remember what it's like. It's like after 9/11 with all the anti-Islam propaganda, the story started to break out everywhere of, like, you know, the guy at the 7-Eleven who's Indian, and he might even be Sikh. He's not even Muslim, but American thinks he's one and just goes and beats him up anyway. Stories like that all over the place because they just start instigating people. And I'm a little bit concerned about what it's going to look like at this day and age, because it's interesting because there's way less testosterone in society than there was in 2001. So that will kind of keep people, maybe less people reacting. But also, it's also after like 20 some years of realistic video games where you're killing Arab people in Call of Duty that almost everyone in America plays. Like, even some of the best supporters in this video say, you know, Zach, the one thing I got to admit, I still like to play Call of Duty. It's like, and you know, some people it's fun in games, but to me, like, part of the way I see it is you're like supporting this thing that's being built. And yeah, maybe it doesn't affect you and your kids, but it's, you know, it's affecting some people. It's like the ones who are more radically trained, they're more emotionally invested in the story of Call of Duty and killing these Muslims because they're from a household where they really love Jesus and hate everybody else. Because that's the brand of Christianity they learned, for whatever reason. Somebody lost the message. And for the record, Satanic is 22 as well. Satanic is 22. You see how Satanic's 50 and 122? Look at San Francisco. San Francisco, 50 and 122. And then the 49ers, once 5-0 in Super Bowls, hosted Super Bowl 50, which was all about race. And funny enough, 58 was huge in that because Cam Newton became the 58th quarterback to start in the Super Bowl, and Huey P. Newton equals 58, and he founded the Black Panther Party in San Francisco at Catholic churches. But anyway, you know, just this past week, the Cowboys got wasted by the 49ers. Brock Purdy became 5-0 at home in the regular season, and road teams fell to 7-6 for NFL Week 5. But San Francisco also on the 122nd meridian. In San Francisco, where the Church of Satan was established, same numbers. You know Mark Passio, the former satanic priest, now supposed truth teller who pushes natural law? Again, I really do like a lot of what he shares, but there's all sorts of things that bother me, and I try to take the good and filter out the bad, but there's some things about this guy that I do wonder about, because why, for example, he said several times he'd like to look more into my work and collaborate, but then never made a real effort when I made a constant effort to. And funny enough, the only time he ever took my call was his 201st episode of his broadcast when I called for weeks, and I didn't even understand 201 back then. He took it at the very end of the show. But isn't it interesting how he talks about how he was recruited by Anton LaVey, and he talks about his Jesuit prep school education. But his name is 67 and 122 like Satanic. And again, 67 is a special number. It's around a lot of celebrity death, strange death. 67, it's a soul word. It's a blood sacrifice word. You think about the people who are being killed right now, and clearly a satanic ritual. And let's not forget the Pentagon, right? We've had members of the Church of Set and Satan in high places in the Pentagon. I mean, it's all out there. It's like sort of been interlaced in an occasional CBS 60 Minute story. It's like it's been out there but didn't get that much attention by society. You're like, oh, it can't be that big a deal, or they wouldn't put him in there. He's probably just real good with tanks or something. It's like, maybe we need to look into this more. Satanic Church, 5 levels. The highest degree of the Satanic Church is mega. If you didn't know that, look it up. The highest degree of the Satanic Church is mega. Hey, notice how Donald's 50, like Satanic, like San Francisco. Mega, the highest degree, the 5th degree. And the 49ers ritual just blown out the Cowboys. That was in week 5. But the Pentagon, 5-sided, like we were just talking about, 5-acre core in the middle, 5 levels above ground. Anyhow, I got tangential, but yeah, I just wanted to emphasize the point about the Church of Satan. And maybe actually one more thing about it. One more thing real quick. I got too many damn slides open. Which one is the one? Here we go. Church of Satan. Gematria 56. Okay? Same cipher. Society of Jesus 56. If you're new here, a number that we talk about all the time. I wrote a book about this with COVID and 9/11. Very special number. And there's a reason why it's biblical. You see how 3 is 56, like light, like Abrahamic, like there's 3 Abrahamic religions. From Trump being at the Western Wall to the war starting this past weekend in Israel, 333 weeks later, 3, the focus on 3. And the 3rd verse of the Bible, 3, where 3 in Gematria is 56, God makes light. Light is 56. And again, Abrahamic is. And then when you run it in reverse, it's 187, like the 187 chapters. And it has to go with Washington, D.C., the Jesuit stronghold, equaling 56. And Paris, France, where the Jesuits are from, equaling 56. Remember, at the beginning of coronavirus, 56, toilet paper, 56, sold out, supposedly because of coronavirus. And then Anthony Fauci told you didn't need a mask, but then he told you needed 1 mask. Definitely 1 mask, then actually also 2 masks. And it was just 156 after the next. 56 years after Trump's Jesuit education began at Fordham was 2020, began in 64, like the spaces on a chessboard. And this 56 number. Anyway, Snickers has a new ad about not hoarding 56 rolls of toilet paper. And again, this is, you can tell they're part of the network. Whatever company owns Snickers and all those other, those other products that are, again, they've taught us from a young age to eat all these things like Snickers, and we like them and we eat them a lot. And our bodies are very well-built machines, but all the abuse of sugar just day after day, which we think is normal, and our taste buds are used to it, our bodies can't sustain, but we're probably also taking off several years off our life, getting all kinds of illness just from these little sugary habits that so many Americans have. Anyway, Snickers' recent ad about the 56 toilet paper rolls. Again, snickering at us. We're being snickered at. And, don't even get started on what they did with the royal family and Captain Tom and the Burma campaign and just everything 56. There's so much to explain, but Maggie Keenan, if you remember these names, you might already know how to connect them before I even tell you. Maggie Keenan, the first vaccinated person for coronavirus, which is 56, like COVID vaccine. Captain Tom, who got vaccinated and then died right after, the day after Burma's government fell to its military, and he was known for the Burma campaign that George Orwell was a member of. George Orwell's book, Burmese Days, his first book, right at the beginning, the first character he brings up is 56 years old. First number in the book is 56, about the Burma campaign. Captain Tom died 56 days after Maggie Keenan got vaccinated. And again, her name's 56. And we've just been talking about all this. The Art of War translations, where the first rules in the book are on their own line. Rule 1's on its own line. Rule 2's on its own line. Rule 3's on its own line. Rule 4's on its own line. But then it's published Rule 5-6. Rule 5-6. And then it gives you the rule, and then it goes to Rule 7, and so on. But they put those numbers on the same line. And, a Jesuit founded the Illuminati, and their logo is often known as the all-seeing eye, which is 56. And again, when your eyes are open, you have light. Light is knowledge to the occult. what's funny is where light is 56 in English, in the Hebrew study, 201 relates to light. And remember, Order of Illuminati is 201, like the Jesuit order. Just how all these numbers come together. And it's like the code is even split between languages. It's like Babel, the Tower of Babel, the language to divide the world. It's like parts of the code are in different forms of the language, but you can see where they intersect by studying. Anyhow, let me bring back the video. Let me finish this out. Because yeah, there's still a bit more to go here, but this stuff, and that's why anytime you go back and look at older work and apply what you know now, you can always add to it. But I totally see why they did this in Boston now. 1229, 201st prime, Anton LaVey dead 201 days from the Pope's birthday, again 201 days from his own birthday. And the Jesuit order, and in San Francisco, you got 27 Jesuit universities in the whole nation, and 2 are in the Bay Area. University of San Francisco and Santa Clara, where Gavin Newsom went, who's also Mr. 56, who said 56% of California will get coronavirus in 8 weeks. It's 56 days. And notice his name is 56, 142, 155, just like coronavirus. First governor to lockdown, Jesuit. Anthony Fauci, Jesuit. Andrew Cuomo, Jesuit. 56th governor of New York. Jenny Durkin, part of the Jesuit prep school upbringing. 56th mayor of Seattle. And just on and on and on, you guys. That was the first mayor to have COVID in the world outside of China. In Bill Gates' backyard, the land of the big needle. William Henry Gates, 201, a real creeper. That's why we are being snickered at. I just hate it. Our whole lives, for all of my adult life, the authorities have been snickering at us and say, conform to us or you're a bad person. And just the masses just march in line. I'm just like, this society, man. And it's really bad right now. Here, let's finish the video from December 29th, where we had so much foresight on what was coming. And again, it's one of many very correct forecasts of the future from understanding the knowledge, as we still somehow don't get recognition or help from other bigger platforms who are supposedly trying to fight this. And yeah, just for it to be in the headlines today on 1229, 201st prime goes back to what we've been talking about with Anton LaVey and his death, and the Jesuits who are, behind all kinds of religious manipulation. And just so you can see the headlines from today. The headlines from today, again, Russia carries out massive missile attack on Ukraine. Again, just the latest 201 in the ongoing 201. Benjamin Netanyahu sworn in as leader of Israel's likely most right-wing government ever. And I just want you guys to be reminded that the day he stepped down, I went out to Seattle on that day. It was an experiment to see if I could use their numbers to further get out the knowledge, but it got destroyed because they had a paid-for military member there. Literally a paid-for military member, because he made a point. Here, just to rewind. I went to Seattle on June 13th, 2021. On the way there, the news broke that Netanyahu was resigning. And I said, oh, how fitting, the latest 201 ritual in Israel. But remember, when I arrived in Seattle, there was a guy waiting there, and as soon as I showed up, he walked up to me. I hadn't even done anything yet. I just arrived on the scene, and he walked up to me, and he says, if you get loud out here and make a scene, he goes, I have that set up right over there. I'll drown you out all day. He had these huge speakers. He had a fold-out desk, fold-out chair, laptop setup, and it was like a stadium speaker setup. It was super loud. I couldn't be anywhere near as loud as he was. But remember what he did to me. The first minute I got on the megaphone and started to talk about things in Event 201, instantly he turns on the music full blast. And what song does he put on of all songs? And it wasn't even me who got the joke. It was people at home watching the stream who were decoding in real time. He put on Katy Perry's I Kissed a Girl, and I liked it. Which is funny because 201's all over the LGBTQ agenda as well. So I wonder who's really pushing that. But of course, the song name, I Kissed a Girl, 201. And then I still remember the next song he drowned me out with was Hakuna Matata from The Lion King. And I know that Beyonce, she did that tribute to The Lion King, and it was a big 201 thing, so maybe there's something else there with The Lion King. Remember what happened? Remember what happened to the voice actor for Simba, The Lion King? Obama's birthday this year, and then the voice actor died at age 47. Like Obama took office at age 47, and Obama did the White House Correspondents' Dinner joke, saying that Trump's right, he was born in Africa, and they show the footage from The Lion King, and he's Simba, which equals 44, like being number 44. So he died, and then the Obama chef was found drowned all around the same time, all around his birthday. Obama born in 61, the year Kennedy became president. The last one to be assassinated. Just kind of like how all of these stories are connected. JFK was number 35, but the 44th term president. Obama 44, or number 44, after MLK killed on 44, and Malcolm X killed on 44 to 8 numerology, and Marvin Gaye killed on his last day of being 44. And then Benjamin Netanyahu with the 44 seconds of silence. And Netanyahu, Israel, Zion, military, 44. All those words 44. Kill 44. Soldier 44. Infantry 44. Trooper 44. 4, number of death from the Far East. You know, the wise men in the Bible from the Far East. Here, let's continue, but just reflecting on some of these things from back then.
I'm missing. But then he just kept drowning me out with music all day. And yeah, again, the reason I knew he was military is because when he came up to me, he said, I can't remember the full extent of what he said. He was trying to put me down, and he was like, plus you're not even a member of the military. I was like, oh, so I'm not a New World Order mercenary, so I'm not as good as you are. But yeah, just some military government piece of shit paid for to be there to drown me out. And again, that's more proof that, and I mean, not that we need any more proof if you're paying attention, that I am harassed by the government, by the state. By the way, you guys, Sweet Lady was investigating that picture. The picture that Simple Troll got was from her own Facebook page posted back in spring of 2015.
Anyway, there's more important stuff in this stream, but you can go back and watch the rest. Actually, I stopped it at stopped it at 33 minutes. That is funny that I start covering drama at 33 minutes. Maybe that's the hermetic side of it. Just all this, because if you remember when I was making these videos, I had everybody coming. It's funny that back when I was covering all this stuff about, I was dead on about what was coming in 2023. All of a sudden, a lot of people just came out of nowhere and just turned on me and started attacking and creating all this drama. And then notice what's happening right at the time that this crazy thing's going on in Israel, right? People who've been hanging around the community, just out of nowhere, they're flipping the switch on me and attacking. It's like, this is how you guys can see the operation, too. It's like, they know how it works. I need to be spending the majority of my time focused getting projects done, speaking out on things, and they got more people harassing and trying to eat up my time and calling me about drama. And it's just human nature. Just like how my mom keeps calling me about it, and she keeps going, Zach, just ignore it. And I'm like, Mom, trust me, I'm ignoring all of it. You're calling in and filling me in on everything. And so it's just like, but people just live for this drama energy. Anyway, I started to address just like the drama stuff right there. And I want to go back and play that part, but and it's not that it's bad what I say. It's just, it's sad that drama's always trying to interfere. It's like we're doing really important work here that could potentially change the world if only people could learn to work together and cooperate and take the time to listen and not leave comments like, I can never watch these videos because they're more than an hour. I would hope that the person who says that has never watched a movie in their life and doesn't sit on their ass and watch sports games or do God knows what. I mean, again, to manufacture an hour-long video, you don't have to watch it all at once. You can watch 5 minutes. You could watch the video in 5-minute segments over 12 days. People just make all these excuses. Anyhow, it's just, again, you guys, unfortunately, we live in this world where psychopaths do rule and military is a real thing, and you just never know what city's going to get it next. I just remind, don't live in fear, but in case something crazy does happen, the power goes out, okay? Not going to be a comfortable moment. You're going to be like, oh, shit. And depending on how loud you say, oh, shit, depends on how prepared you were. If it's just kind of a softer, oh, shit, it's probably because you're prepared. If you're freaking out, oh shit, it's because you're like, damn, I've been meaning to go get some bandages in case I get a cut or something or blisters on my feet. Just make sure you have some first aid stuff. Again, water, food that will be edible in a can that you don't have to heat up. Beans, you can just open up the can of refried beans. They're edible as they are. They're soft. They're ready to eat, easy to eat, and full of nutrients. Inexpensive. If you had $50 to go to the store and say, okay, I got to spend this the smartest way I could. So like if I had to sustain for a week on $50, you'd be thinking, okay, I need water. I need things like beans that are cheap and edible and healthy and good sources of, again, good nutrients in there, good energy food. If you don't have running water, though, that could be something to think about, because now you got to go to the bathroom probably more, and you want to make sure you're being smart about that. So you got to learn to go back to your ancestor ways. Dig a hole. But yeah, I mean, they could have us living in that world for a while, you know? You got somebody in your community that they don't dig a hole, and you walk outside to use it and you stepped in their aisle because they didn't do the necessary steps. You're getting annoyed by that person, right? Now war's breaking out in your house. You can't step in their pile one more time. Again, just imagine what the world could become if they did do it to us like they did to other places in world wars of the past. And have the things you'd want. Food, water, first aid. Again, comfortable shoes. You might have to be on your feet a lot. If all you got around are high heels, you're going to be in big trouble. You know. And that's what's sad, too, is just that there's not a lot of good family units anymore. I mean, see, that's going to make the world more desperate when they bring it to us. Because back in the day, if you had the family and a neighborhood and community, you could kind of work together. Now you live in this world where a lot of people don't even know their neighbors. And, you know, you don't know who you're living next to. And you think you're helping them out, and the next thing you know, they're stabbing you in the back. A lot of us probably had that experience with a bad neighbor. It's like, what? I had that experience in a bad way once I started doing this information. Different story for another time, but anyway, if you got here late, maybe rewind this stream. A lot of important stuff, and again, just enlighten them using the Bible as a playbook. NFL Week 6 starts today. Revelation 6 is about the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, which begins with the white horse and then has the infamous verse about the pale horse and death. That's all in Revelation 6. First game of NFL Week 6, the white Denver Broncos that they use for symbolic purposes all the time versus the Kansas City Chiefs with the league's golden boy, Chiefs, War Chief. You know, native team days after Columbus Day. Where, again, the Raiders beat the Packers, named after the Indian Packing Company. But Revelation 6, using the Bible as the playbook, like a football coach uses a playbook, a line that we've said many a times because it all goes together, as we've explained so many different times. And then tomorrow, and while that game's going on, it's going to be tomorrow in other parts of the world, so it'll be becoming Friday, October 13th in Jerusalem when that game's going on. And I mean, hopefully, again, the next major event is still a ways off, and it could be, but just signs of the times. It's like, well, yeah, four horsemen of the apocalypse. Again, a big dramatic moment in Revelation. So, and 6, so important to the Bible. Man made on the 6th day. God regrets making mankind and wants to get rid of him in Genesis 6:6. NFL Week 6. Coming after NFL Week 5, like the 5 books of Moses, where Israel's war starts on the Jewish day to finish reading the Torah, the first 5 books of Moses. Again, Jacob becomes Israel, dies at 147. This war breaks out on Israel's 147th day of its age. And like I played earlier in this video, in the December 29th thing, I brought up how Henry Kissinger had mentioned that he saw the destruction of Israel around this moment in history. Henry Kissinger, who's been around since well before that 1940 article was written about the New World Order being pledged. So again, if you want to go back, if you didn't see this replay of this video from the beginning, take it all the way back, and you can watch the rest too. There's more good stuff in here, but I know also just talking about drama stuff of the past that just, it's annoying. It just reminds me of how much of my time has been wasted just from needless, baseless attacks when it's like, how come more people didn't get behind what I was sharing and lie to how relevant we proved it was long ago, but the whole time I was here, it was just mostly, if somebody's making a video about me, it's an attack. It's a character attack. I've been telling you guys the whole time the same thing. It's like, you need to be sharing what I'm sharing to help stop what's coming. You guys all say you're so awake. Anyway. Thank you, Rumham Solo. Sunshine on my shoulders, John Fuking Denver. NWO Airport, the paintings are gone. Guidelines writing in stone, gone. Truth can't shine under the shade. That's a good point about the game tonight. Look, here's Revelation 6:8, right? Revelation 6:8. But think Bill Cooper. Bill Cooper killed right after 9/11. His book, Behold a Pale Horse. Revelation 6 is about the four horsemen of the apocalypse. Here, let's just read all Revelation 6, but I just want you to see 6:8 in light of Denver, who opens up NFL Week 6, playing the Kansas City Chiefs. Kansas City has the Gematria of Satanic as well, just for a Synagogue of Satan ritual. The seals. I watched as the Lamb opened the first of the 7 seals. Then I heard one of the 4 living creatures say in a voice like thunder, "Come." I looked, and there before me was a white horse. Its rider held a bow, and he was given a crown, and he rode out as conqueror bent on conquest. When the Lamb opened the 2nd seal, I heard the 2nd living creature say, "Come." Then another horse came out, a fiery red one. Its rider was given power to take peace from the earth and to make people kill each other. To him was given a large sword. When the Lamb opened the 3rd seal, I heard the 3rd living creature say, "Come." I looked, and there before me was a black horse. Its rider was holding a pair of scales in his hand. Then I heard what sounded like a voice among the 4 living creatures saying, 2 pounds of wheat for a day's wages, and 6 pounds of barley for a day's wages, and do not damage the oil and the wine. That 2 and 6, that's part of the reason in the past I've speculated like the word dollar equals 26, and bank is 26, and God is 26, and in God we trust on the dollar bill, and 26 letters in the alphabet, and the language written by this cabal of Jesuits that goes back to the Templars that are the original bankers, and how kind of everyone in this, almost everyone in this matrix that we're living in, matrix is another 85 word like Templar, but in this matrix, they're in it because of language and the contracts they signed on and maybe the deals they wish they hadn't done and kind of were coerced into and didn't realize how bad it would be for them. And then you think back about your 13 years of slave school, pledging to the 13 stripes, and you thought, where was the financial education component? And then you realize these same bankers and corporations helped form your textbooks and what information should be in there. And then you realize, like, you had Rockefellers along the way and other big business guys talking about, how it could be advantageous to have maybe a society that was not stupid, but, just the right amount of smart. Useful idiots is a way to put it. But anyway, 2 pounds of wheat for a day's wages and 6 pounds of barley for a day's wages, and do not damage the oil and the wine. When the Lamb opened the 4th seal, I heard the voice of the 4th living creature say, "Come." I looked, and there before me was a pale horse. Keep in mind, this is the 4th horse, right? 4 is associated with death from the Far East, the wise men from the Far East. "Come." I looked, and there before me was a pale horse, the 4th horse. Its rider was named Death, and Hades was following close behind him. They were given power over a 1/4 of the earth to kill by sword, famine, and plague, and by the wild beasts of the earth. That's all in 8. So 6-8 is all that. That's a long segment. I looked, and there before me was a pale horse, also like the Broncos horse. Its rider was named Death. Colorado is the 38th state in order of statehood. A lot of death stories out of Colorado. We talked about this many times. Colorado equals 38, murder 38, killing 38, death 38, RIP 38. The Chris Watts killing family, one of many stories, Columbine, so many out of Colorado. They were given power over a 1/4 of the earth to kill by sword, famine, and plague, and by the wild beasts of the earth. Now remember, the Denver airport used to have up those murals that showed this, right? So here we are on the eve of Friday the 13th. Templars burned at the stake on Friday the 13th in Paris, France, where the Jesuits were created, who now have the Templar cross in their logo, whose motto is Sus Omnum Salvator equals 85 like Templar. Like how this war in Israel begins on the day leaving 85 days left in the year. And then Biden addresses it exactly 85 weeks after addressing Russia-Ukraine breaking out on February 22nd. From that day to October 10th, when he addressed Hamas and Israel. 85 weeks after the attack on the day, leaving 85 days left in there. When we've talked about this point with Templar and 85 in the history of invading Afghanistan and the New Crusades and the Bible and Revelation, and now 22 years later when there's 22 chapters. And again, how sports is intertwined. So I'm just saying, signs right now. Maybe read Revelation. Instead of being so focused on the game tonight, maybe read Revelation. There might be a life-saving piece of information in there that you connect with and be like, you know what? I think that's what they're pointing to. A lot of you guys know Dutch Sense. That's somebody who I was excited to work with when I started this knowledge. I thought he would love my work and help get out the word. I still remember the day that I predicted there'd be an earthquake on December 6th because of the way the date numerology was. The date numerology corresponded with the Gematria earthquake. And Revelation 6:12, like December 6th, says, I watched as he opened the sixth seal. There was a great earthquake. There ended up being an earthquake that day in the Middle East, in the biblical lands, that was reported as the same. It was a 5.5 earthquake on 55 date numerology. Earthquake equals 55 like military. So does Satan with the whole Synagogue of Satan. And don't forget the HARP technology came on the 223rd day of the year, like the Synagogue of Satan, and how at the beginning of this year you had the major earthquake in Turkey while the Grammys were going on with the Satan performance. Like literally, look into it. They were doing like this satanic tribute at the Grammys as biblical Philadelphia, Turkey gets rocked. But don't get me started on the 1989 World Series earthquake, 107 days after Jose Canseco's birthday, the last thing shown on TV because his name equals 107, like earthquake, like military, small wave, both 55. But anyway, the thing about Dutch Sense is he made fun of that video even though the prediction was right and said like I was making his work look kooky. And I was like, really? So the prediction was right, and then even the earthquake number was reported in exactly what I talked about, and it's kooky? That's like the day after our Super Bowl 50 prediction landed, the one from October about how the Broncos would beat the Panthers. It's all connected with the Black Panthers and O.J. Simpson and the White Bronco chase, Hollywood, history, rituals. Even that year, there was a weird crash on a California freeway where they said the Jewish man was driving and he flew out his back window. In a single car accident, he flew out the back window and landed on the overpass sign. And it was on Colorado Street, lined up with the Super Bowl, where the Broncos ended up winning it in California. But the day after the prediction landed, we had the right teams. We had the right MVP, Von Miller. Why would be Von Miller number 58 after Cam Newton became the 58th quarterback to start in the Super Bowl? And he put out a video the next day saying it was the dumbest thing ever to say sports was rigged by Gematria. Supposedly Jeff C. died a few years ago around Christmas. And sometimes I wonder. Sometimes I wonder what really happened there. But yeah, just all these people that I would have liked to have worked with over the years have always just been coming at us crooked, trying to attack the work, and the work just adds up more and more. But yeah, this whole 6'8" thing, if you're new here, 68's a big time number. But Denver's 68, right? We're talking about the Denver Broncos and how they got them going tonight. Of course, Denver's 94 in reverse. In the 94th NFL season, they lost to the Seattle Seahawks. Seattle, Washington, 94, big number there. Seahawks is 48, Super Bowl 48. Russell Wilson gets traded to the Broncos on March 8th. Colorado's 38. The Seahawks beat the Broncos in the Super Bowl in the 38th Seahawks season. The Broncos started 3-8 last year against the Panthers, who lost in Super Bowl 38, who also lost to the Broncos on the 38th day of the year in Super Bowl 50. Anyway, again, just proof of how this knowledge is universal in these ways and how you can see through these scripts by just being aware. So that Lion King actor, dead at 47. This is reported on August 5th, the day after Obama's birthday. Again, President, White House, government authority, Republican, Democrat, all 47 like D.C. Obama in the White House at age 47. Joe Biden, the 47th VP. See, his name had magic numbers. Clifton Oliver, 74. 74 and 70. They both go right back to Jesus and the Vatican and the temples and everything taking place at this moment. That's why the war was declared 70 days before Pope Francis' birthday, when Vatican and Francis are 70. And again, the Super Bowl is going to be on Pope Francis, or the Vatican's birthday. His name's 191 like Society of Jesus and 74 in the same cipher as Jesus Christ. Dead at 47, Christian 47, like authority, like government, like putting your hand on the Bible, like Vatican 47, like the first Super Bowl in the 47th NFL season, like Ukraine 47. Again, I made the point in that video that Henry Kissinger said that Israel, he sees it being totally destroyed around this time in history. And in the video that I was replaying from December 29th, I made the point about how if he ends up being right about that, I mean, they could relocate it to something like Ukraine, and then it would make a lot more sense why Ukraine's part of this huge 201 ritual going with state of Israel and everything else going on in the world. So, again, Israel was drawn up in 47. Same gang pulling all these strings, you guys. People say, how can it be done? Again, I don't know how you ask the questions after we've explained it. These secret societies have existed. These are their means of operation. They're about domination and control. They're well spread. They control people with money, clearly. You know, how do you get paid? How do you get assassins to do this kind of stuff? They make movies about it, right? Hollywood, they get paid very well. Killing people and being paid by people in high places. I mean, how many Hollywood movies are there about like a politician or somebody in a high place getting an assassin for some? I mean, they're showing us giving us a clue, right? One of the most famous assassin movies is the one with Natalie Portman as a little kid. Go back and look. The first killing in that movie, he goes into apartment 201. The Professional. Natalie Portman's a child. She's like a 12-year-old girl that wants to be with a grown Italian man. It's probably another subtle joke in there. And yeah, first scene where he kills everybody. You see what an assassin is. He's busting through door 201. The Jesuit Order 201. The mob, Italy. Jesuits, Catholic Church. World domination by force and coercion and deception and trickery and sneakiness. Tony Soprano of The Sopranos, dead on the 99th day of Pope Francis being Pope when Sopranos equals 99 and the show came out in 99, and that's a big number with the Illuminati founded by the Jesuit Adam Weishaupt. Gangsters ruling over us. Remember, Coolio's death anniversary is coming up. Coolio died on the 46th anniversary of Stevie Wonder's sample Pastime Paradise. The sample for Gangsta's Paradise. Here. Just remember how there's the stuff they've been getting away with. I feel like the Coolio example is one of 1,000 things we've covered that should have woke up the whole world. And then what happened in the aftermath too. Coolio, 201 days after the Amish Paradise parody anniversary. That's right, CNN covered him dying on the death anniversary after we covered it. It was like, wow, are we helping CNN break their news now? But look at this, you guys. Coolio's big song, Gangsta's Paradise, dead at 59. We all know. Black History Month on the 59th day of the year it ends. Motown in 59. Slave, Negro, Blues, Rost, all equal 59. Ephesians 6, 5 through 9. The verse is about slavery. Man made on the 6th day. It's in Ephesians 6, the rules of slavery for mankind. And he died September 28th, the 271st day of the year, going with Gangsta's Paradise. There's a lot more to it. I'm going to skip over a bunch of it, even though it's important, just to get to, again, how he died on the anniversary of Stevie Wonder's Pastime Paradise. And if you never heard this song, you should listen to it. Check out the song Pastime Paradise by Stevie Wonder. Recorded starting in 74. That's interesting. And, of course, ended in 76. Just like we were showing. Acts 7:6, about 400 years of slavery. Bob Marley started recording Exodus in 76, if I'm not mistaken, after going solo in 74. So many of the rituals from Exodus. Happened by Stevie Wonder was 40 or 72, 13 years older than Coolio. Jesuit Order 72, 72 demons in the Goetia. But again, on the 46th anniversary, I must have put in the Gematria for the 46 up here. Or maybe I just wrote it down. I talk about it all the time. Sacrifice. I had to have wrote it down why it mattered the 46th anniversary. Maybe I just talk about it so many times I just assume everybody knows. Oh, it's just right up here at the top. Again, sacrifice. Genesis, the beginning of the Bible. Genesis 46 talks about sacrifice. Sacrifice 46, right? Actually, I'm glad I brought this up because sacrifice also 73. Notice how Gaza is 73. Gaza's getting wasted at the tail end of Netanyahu being 73 years old, like the 73 books in the Catholic Bible. And again, Gaza, Hamas was established 35 years ago, and the war was declared 35 days from the Superior General's birthday. Gaza at 19, Chaos 19, the war that ended 19 days after it began, the Yom Kippur War. 17's big with killing and masonry and Moses and God. It's another spiritual, biblical, God type of number. In fact, really, all of these numbers have a connection to God and the Son, which makes sense in light of Catholicism. 1229, Christmas Day, square root 35. Again, words like Moses and God are 17. 17's the seventh prime. G's the seventh letter. The Mason symbol, the capital G, with the instruments of geometry, when the sacred geometry belief is that God is the master mathematician and Fibonacci numbers and whatnot. 73 is the 21st prime number. Words like Bible are 21. Human is 21. 21's the sixth triangular number. Man made on the sixth day again. Where all these numbers fit in mathematically. Again, in Hebrew Gematria, it's about connecting the words, the numbers, the scripture, and the mathematical commonology. 19 is a prime number. It's the eighth prime number. And the sun makes a figure 8 in the sky. And the 19th card of the tarot is the sun card. And tarot is another word that equals 74, like Gematria, like English, like occult, like Masonic, like Jewish, like killing, like Netanyahu about to turn 74. Gaza is 74 years old. Gaza got bombed a ton days before Israel's 73rd birthday, which we were covering back then. So when I was working on it back then, I was close to finishing the book that I still haven't finished. I'm just mad at myself. I'm like, I should have just put out what I had back then. It would serve as a great example right now. But again, we have a great collection and body of work that still serves as a good example right now. It's sad watching all this go down so perfectly. And people still won't accept it. It's just like cognitive dissonance is so hard, and people just want to believe the things they believe. People don't think as much as they believe. So many people who think they're awake are still believers. That's why they come to my work and they're like, that doesn't mean anything. It's just so obvious. It's the small hats. It's like, I heard you're a small hat. It's okay, that's wrong. You heard it was the small hats. It's also wrong. Got to be more specific. Not every Jewish person in a small hat's doing this. You know, a lot of Jewish people live in this world and suffer from it too. But again, the Jesuits are the Catholic and Jewish alliance, and they are the military order that has influence and, as they claim, 112 nations that have been warned about for centuries. All right, Trusik, I'm going to leave it there. Thank you again to everyone who's liking the share. And until next time.